One, check two. Check one, check two. Coming up on IndyStar's Pit Pass Live, presented by Honda. Check one, check two. Check one, check two. Check one, check two. Check one, check two. Coming up on IndyStar's Pit Pass Live, presented by Honda, I will be joined by IndyStar Racing insider Jim Aiello, who will break down today's 103rd running of the Indianapolis 500. Hopefully we'll get it in. It looks like the rain's holding off for now. They say maybe about 2 o'clock, so we'll see. But Jim will be joined by a host of guests, including racer Kyle Kaiser, who was the underdog story of qualifying, getting into the field. He will be joined by the busiest man in the Midwest today, Doug Bowles, president of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and IndyCar president Mark Miles, president of the Holman Corporation. So tune in from 9 to 11 on IndyStar.com and USATodaySports.com. Welcome to IndyStar's Pit Pass Live, brought to you by Honda. I am Matt Glinesk. He is IndyStar's racing insider Jim Aiello. We are coming to you live from Gasoline Alley at the 103rd running of the Indianapolis 500. And we're just going to jump right into the show right now. Right now we have Juncos Racing driver Kyle Kaiser. He was the star of qualifying, the upset story. Fernando Alonso not in the field, but Kyle Kaiser is. He will join us right now.
Morning, Kyle.
Morning. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you too. How you doing this morning?
I'm doing great. Ready for racing.
To say, have you been busy enough this morning? Have they kept keeping you running around?
Oh yeah, Abby gives me lots to do on race day.
All right, so everybody knows you're qualifying. So I just want you to take us back inside the car. You're screaming, "This is the greatest day!" What is it? This is the greatest day of my life. I think it was.
I said this is the greatest story of my life, and it wasn't just that exact moment. It was everything leading up to that moment that made it just an absolute story.
It was incredible. And I would say the story continued this week. And I was wondering if you wanted to tell people about the struggle for this team was to try to find some sponsorship for you guys. And credit to your team owner, Ricardo. He said, we're running this race no matter what. We're getting out there. It doesn't matter if we get sponsorship. We're going. You guys qualify for the race, and then this week some nice things unfold for you guys.
Yeah, I think we had some momentum going with the White Rabbit story, obviously. But then Fast Friday, things kind of came to a halt. I mean, that was a full-on effort to get the car back out there. But things resumed. We made the race. We got a lot of sponsors coming on board. 250 OK, local company. Have to give them a shout out. Really happy to have them on board. We have Haggerty, NFP, GMR. I mean, there's so many companies. I'm like trying to memorize all of them. Nextech, The Mug, Cluster Truck, Lockhart Dentistry.
Jeez.
I could go on and on. But basically, those are the big ones, and I'm very grateful to have those guys on board.
Was the phone ringing off the hook after qualifying?
I would say so, yeah. I mean, you could ask Ricardo. I'm sure he was taking a lot of those calls. I was doing a lot of media stuff for making the race, but unbelievable to have these guys on board, and I think we'll show a lot of them a great show today.
Yeah, I want to talk about the race here in a minute, but I do want to ask you, what was Monday like for you after qualifying? Did you wake up and go, oh my God, did that just happen?
It was like a celebration hangover. Yeah, it was hard to explain, but I was feeling really good.
And the other thing I wanted you to tell people about was just this team. I mean, you guys seem to have such a family atmosphere over there, and the celebration I think was the greatest part of qualifying. Watching you guys, I was down by James Hinchcliffe, who had just had the relief of going in. I'm looking down the row, and I see all these green shirts jumping up and down. It was just the coolest moment. So yeah, tell us a little bit about the family atmosphere of this place.
I think that's a great way to put it. And I think if they weren't all wearing green shirts, you'd think it was just a big group of friends that were hanging out and celebrating being at the racetrack. So it's very important because Ricardo knows how to pick guys that have that passion, have that work ethic, and the heart for this sport. And you put all those guys together, you can see some magical things happen.
All right, let's go to the race. This isn't your first rodeo. How are you handling this morning? How is it different than the first time you did this?
I mean, I think all the drama and just how hard it was to get into this race, that was like a huge monkey off the back. Like, all right, we're in the race. Let's just enjoy this. And that's kind of how I felt last year because it was the same idea with the bump. I think I was a little more nervous not knowing what to expect come race day last year because I really didn't know what to expect. It was my first time doing it. Now I feel like I've been there. I've done it. I know exactly what to expect, and I'm just enjoying the day.
Yeah, so you seem pretty calm and relaxed. Is that going to change as you get closer to race?
I mean, I'm not immune to nerves, so I would like to think that, since it's the biggest race in the world, I would get a little nervous before, but that's natural. Once those engines fire up, it usually all goes away, and you just have fun.
Do you have a routine you've decided to try to kind of follow for this morning to make sure that you stay calm? And
I mean, it was a little different sleeping in the RV last night.
Okay.
So I mean, it got a little windy. I think I woke up a little early in the morning, but same breakfast, same deal. Feeling pretty good. So I think just do it like any other day.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is one of the questions I think everybody asks you. But so far when you've got to enjoy this, what is the favorite part of the day? Is it when you're out there right before the race? Is it back home again in Indiana? What part do you enjoy the most?
I would say walking across that stage,
Yeah.
seeing this place absolutely filled, and hearing those shouts. It's unbelievable.
That's awesome.
Goosebumps.
All right, so then you're starting. You got a lot of ground to make up. I mean, I don't know, you can't reveal all of your strategies here, but what is the plan? What are you going to try to do here?
I mean, the plan is obviously make it to the end. I mean, there is still a chance of weather, fingers crossed, but we have that in mind, and we got a whole team just keeping an eye on the weather to try and see what we can do to finagle our way to the front around halfway just in case.
Yeah, I was going to say, so is that the do you have to kind of keep an eye on 101, and then when the rain's coming, you're saying, okay, I might have to get more aggressive, make a little bit more bold strategy calls just in case this thing, after 101, it becomes official?
I mean, you got to do what you got to do to win this race, right? And if it comes down to weather and you happen to be at the right place at the right time, we'll be making strategy calls to put us at the front at that point.
So you have to have this is the best time to have the best weathermen in Indianapolis, right?
Yeah, we'll go for it. I mean, we'll see what happens. The weather is so hit or miss, so you can't bank on weather for making your race, but we'll have guys looking for it, and whatever happens, happens.
What do you think of the start? What the start's going to be like for you? Is it just going to be trying to keep your nose clean, stay out of trouble, or is what? I mean, because I think a lot of people are going to try to make up a little bit of ground because, as we know, passing here might be a little bit difficult today.
Yeah, definitely. The beginning of the race is the best time to make up the most spots. You know, it's hard to say because you want to make up some spots so you have a bit of a buffer so you don't fall a lap down. That's a big area. But at the same time, you don't want to be too risky at the beginning of the race because I've seen guys lose it on lap 1, and I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we'll see what opportunities present themselves. If we get a good run and we can get a couple guys off the start, I'll be doing that. But, if we're settling in and we can save some fuel, maybe extend our stint a little bit, that'll also play into our hands. So we got lots of options we can run into, but we'll see what happens.
I was wondering if you went and found Alexander Rossi and said, okay, you went from 32nd to 4th last year. How did you do that? Give me a few tips.
I mean, I watched the race last year. I watched him specifically, and he was very aggressive. And, I mean, he drove an amazing race for sure. But I don't know if we're looking to be that aggressive this year because like that, you could get caught out at any point of that race. So.
Right.
I think, and it's a little different dynamic if we end up halfway. So we'll see what happens.
I asked Graham Rahal about this, and he said, everybody saw Alex as a hero last year, and rightfully so for what he did. But he said when you're making these passes, all these things flash through your mind, like how hard this team has worked to get to the point we're at, and you don't want to just throw it away in 1 second with one, maybe a little over-aggressive move. Do those things kind of cross your mind as you're making these moves?
I mean, it's something that you know going in.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't think about it in the moment.
Okay.
You kind of prepare yourself for, what kind of moves and risks am I willing to take going into this, so you're not having to make a split-second decision.
Okay.
I kind of have an idea of what I'm willing to do.
Okay. All right, so tell us what passing is going to be like today. Obviously, the weather's going to have an effect, but what do you think it's going to be? How challenging is it going to be? It's really, I
think if we have some of this cloud cover that we're seeing right now, temps are a little bit cooler than it was on Friday. Even on Friday, we saw some passes happening, but I think that was mostly from drivers struggling and making mistakes. So if it's cooler conditions, I think we'll see some good amount of passing.
Right.
The tires were an improvement. I think the added front arrow is a little bit of an improvement, so I think it'll be a good one.
All right, before we let you go, what's the rest of the morning look like? Are you just going to try to take it easy and relax before you get out there?
Yeah, as soon as I'm done with all the media stuff, going back to my RV, watching the F1 race, and then just chilling.
Beautiful. All right, Kyle, well, I really appreciate it. Good luck today, man.
Yeah, thanks so much.
I think a lot of people are cheering for you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Now I'll take that
All
from
right,
you. Thank you. That was Kyle Kaiser from Juncos Racing, the guy who slayed McLaren, the David Duke slayed Goliath. So coming up after the break, we'll have Michael Shank, but right now we're going to commercial.
There's a challenging spirit within Honda. It gives us the courage to go faster and the thinking to make it real. Whether it looks like a truck, a sedan, or a coupe, inside is the heart of a race car.
Welcome back to IndyStar's Pit Pass Live, brought to you by Honda. All right, so that was Kyle Kaiser. Thank you very much, Kyle, for taking the time to talk with us on probably the biggest day of his professional racing career, the Indianapolis 500. Really, on qualifying, that was the story.
Yeah.
First of all, Fernando Alonso not qualifying, but having this sponsorless car being the one to knock him out.
For sure. I mean, it was like those things in tandem, right? Because we saw Fernando Alonso. He's sitting in pit lane watching to see if this White Rabbit car is going to, and it wasn't white, I think it was green at the time, but it was the White Rabbit car. And you're waiting to see if he can knock out one of the most powerful, resource-rich teams in Formula One. I mean, I know McLaren doesn't do so well in Formula One, but they got plenty of resources. They came here with a lot of money, and they came here with the intent to not just make the race, but compete for a win. Obviously, that didn't happen. And a team like, I think with Juncos, most people didn't think that. They kind of wrote them off. They kind of said, okay, with McLaren here, with a fifth Andretti car, with those kind of things, these are the guys, maybe Dragon Speed, Juncos, those guys aren't going to make the race. Maybe Pippa Mann will get bumped again. And all three of those people proved them wrong. It was a great David slays Goliath story, and I think that was the highlight of the week, really. I mean, you see Kyle Kaiser, and then the following Monday, as Kyle said, the sponsors just ringing off the hook, filling up that car as well. They should, a deserving team.
And again, 250 OK, local company, a startup. I have a friend who works there, so thank you for stepping up and helping out Kyle Kaiser.
You make that call for him?
Yeah, I did actually.
You placed the call?
I was working behind the scenes there. All right, so talk about the new qualifying.
Yeah.
By all intents and purposes, it was a success. People really seem to enjoy it. What are your thoughts on it?
I was going to say, I don't think you couldn't have built in more drama the way they did it on day one and day two. Now, maybe on day two, and they're going to look into this a little bit, they'll say, maybe we give those bump cars, instead of giving them one shot, which was really exciting, maybe we'll give them an hour and see if they can run out there 2 or 3 times, because I think the excitement a lot of the time comes from day one. waiting, those guys getting back in line and going back out. But I really, for the first time of trying this 2-day qualifying format and splitting it between 2 days, I don't think you could have asked for much more. The weather held off, thank God. We got everybody else. We were able to get the Fast 9 in. I didn't think we were going to get that in. And that ended up being very dramatic. Simon Pagenaud went berserk after he won the pole. That guy has been so strong on ovals these last few years. He's kind of like Will Power in that way, where he came over as a European driver with a road and street course background who's really grown fond of ovals over the years and did really well. So, now back to your question about qualifying. I didn't know what to expect going in. I think a lot of fans were wary of, well, we're changing this up again, qualifying rules change again, but I think it worked out pretty well.
Well, you mentioned weather held off for qualifying.
Yeah.
That's kind of the big
cloud
over today is whether or not the rain will hold off long enough for them to race this, to run this race. They need 101 laps.
101.
Start time is about to be 12:50.
Yes.
Is what we say. The rain seems to be coming around 2 o'clock, is what they're saying, and might last throughout the day. Will they get 101 laps in between 12:50 and 2 o'clock?
Oh, you're asking the wrong guy. I am the worst.
A meteorologist doesn't know.
Exactly.
Okay? That is.
I'm going to say yes then, because why not? No, I don't want to come back tomorrow. I love this place and it's great, but I don't want to come back tomorrow. I want to get this whole race in, and I guess if we have to settle for 101, that's fine. But I don't think anybody wants that. I know the drivers, and I think we'll have a video for this later, but a lot of the drivers have talked about that's really going to tinker with the strategy. If you're seeing the rain clouds coming and you don't know exactly what's going on, you might have to start pushing to get to the front at 101. Sorry, I just saw Charlie Kimball. He distracted me. He'll be joining us here soon. He waved, so I'm just a little starstruck. But actually, we got Michael Shank here from Meyer Shank Racing. Sorry.
All right, well, exactly.
Yeah,
that's
sorry.
a segue.
I stole your job.
That's
I
okay.
apologize.
It's okay. So Michael Shank from Meyer Shank Racing is going to join us here in a second. He is the team owner of the Jack Harvey car. So, we'll be right back. Or not.
There's a challenging spirit within Honda. It gives us the courage to go faster and the thinking to make it real. Whether it looks like a truck, a sedan, or a coupe, inside is the heart of a race car.
Welcome back to Pit Pass Live, presented by Honda. I'm IndyStar Motorsports Insider Jim Aiello, and I am joined by Michael Shank, co-owner of Meyer Shank Racing. And I got to ask you, I think I wanted to go back to the IndyCar Grand Prix first, just to start the month, because I don't think there was a better way for you guys. I mean, I guess winning the race would have been slightly better, but you guys had one heck of a day that day, and I think it was one great way to kick off the month.
You know, with Jack, I told him after the first practice for the Grand Prix here, which has been a couple of weeks ago now, I said, I think we got this. I mean, I really think you got this all the way in qualifying. He's like, you think so? I'm like, I'm telling you. So as we worked through the rest of the practice sessions that day, by the end of the day, we're P3, qualifying P3, almost we're on pole, and we had something really cool for that day. I tell you, it just means a lot to AutoNation and SiriusXM that have supported us through 6 races last year, 10 races this year.
Yeah.
Trying to build that program. We needed a result like this. Of course, it really helped timing-wise to come into this big event today, and really grateful for the opportunity, but it comes from a lot of work.
I want to ask you, I think a lot of people have been saying ever since you guys had such a great result, are they going to go full-time, and when is that going to happen right away? And I think you've been very methodical in your approach about how this is going to happen, and you want to be full-time, but you're going to do it the way you want to do it.
I mean, listen, this is what I do for a living.
Right.
So I could take my credit card and go put the tires on it, but then I got to pay the piper someday, right? So my promise to Jim Meyer and our sponsors is, listen, we're going to work at this. We're going to build the team. We're going to build our budget. And when it's time, we're going to do it. When it's not time, we're not going to do it.
Yeah.
I also have a sports car program that we run over the IMSA WeatherTech Series for Acura, and so we're busy on both sides. It's important to me to be in this series and feel like we belong, and I think we proved that a little bit last week.
You guys proved it last week. I was wondering, I mean, just from afar, not just your team, but you see teams like Dragon Speed and Juncos Racing and some of these smaller teams. Did you think, I don't know, from your perspective, did you think it was more of a David Slade Goliath type thing? Because we saw McLaren go home. What was your takeaway from the big storylines from Sunday?
Well, for one thing, I thought the thing that we're doing there by creating a 6-car shootout was awesome. And I think that's the way it should always have to be. Okay. You got to earn your way. And you know what? That could bite me next year. It could bite me a year after. I get it. But that's part of what makes this great. I've not been in a more electric kind of situation than Saturday.
Really?
Well, for me, not for the pole side, actually. For the last 6, I've just never felt this place so electric and just happy for people like Juncos and Kaiser and stuff, and not happy, obviously, for Alonso. But I think that goes to show you how tough this deal is.
Well, you see, I think a lot of people there's been that debate about the guaranteed entries, and a lot of team owners have called for it. So you're not a fan, even when you see somebody like, it's going to be tough on Trevor Carlin for sure.
It's brutal, and maybe you could say I would feel different if and I may be in his shoes someday, but I'm doing my best to not be there.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, the tradition, you talk about all the people that are in this paddock today, and they've come with their fathers and mothers, 5 generations of people. They're used to a certain thing.
Okay.
And I think we call that tradition.
Yeah.
And it's important to people like me that grew up in the Midwest, same with Indiana folks. I think it's important that we keep it. So I think you have to earn it. And I'm not 100% right on everything, but what I can tell you is when you do make it, it really feels like you've done something.
Yeah, I was going to say, what did Sunday feel like when you were watching from afar? You had already assured your spot in the race.
I was so relaxed. I just really enjoyed watching that last 6 shootout, and I told many people, I thank God that I'm not out here today. That stress is tough.
I wanted to ask you too, because I think we talked to you a few years ago when you came here for the first time.
Yeah.
Does it feel like old hat to you, or is when you come out here on Sunday, is it just the same thrill as it was before?
It's the same. In fact, I come here. I rent a motorhome for the 3 weeks that we're here. I stay out here every night. We sit out front and have a beer at the end of the day. Look at the pagoda, and I'm into all that.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my thing. So when I come up here, or when I come here, it's new to me every time, and at least the way that feels now. But really, we want to get this race won someday soon.
What do you? I hate asking this question because I feel like it's a sad question, but I am curious to know. What do the few years that you've been here now as a team owner? What have you enjoyed most? Like, what's the moment of race day morning?
The people,
really?
The fans.
Okay.
To me, the tradition. Well, the people are the first. The traditions of the singing the national anthem, the taps that they play. This stuff is that tugs at my heart a lot, and I think along with a lot of people, we look forward to that type of thing. Once we get the race going, it's a race that we're figuring out how to get to the front.
Okay.
And that's what we'll be doing here in a couple hours.
Yeah, I was going to say we got a little bit of time. I want to ask you a couple more questions about what's your. I don't want you to reveal your full strategy, but you guys are starting near the back. So what are you thinking about the race today?
Well, I think you got to look at what this looks like, and it looks like it could easily be a 101 race.
Yes.
Right. So how do we tie that to our strategy? So we start laying spreadsheets out yesterday after we get real good forecasting. And we figure option A, B, and C out, and what can we do to take a risk? We didn't come here to run 25th where we're starting. We should have qualified probably 13th to 15th is where we are all month, but now we got to figure out how to get out of that.
Okay.
So for us, it'll be okay. We're going to have to take a risk. When is it? Because it's hard. You can't. It's very difficult to drive from 25th the old-fashioned way in this day and age, right? So where are we going to do the risk? Are we going to do it up front? We're going to do it middle. Last year we did it toward the 2/3 mark, and it almost worked. So we'll be looking for opportunities to make something like that happen.
How important are the starts and restarts going to be, given what people have said about passing and how difficult it might be if given I don't know what the weather's going to be like, but it looks like it's going to be pretty hot.
We use Alexander Rossi as the prime example last year. He's the only guy that really got aggressive and made and that's kind of what you have to do. Now the downside to that, if it catches you out, you're done.
Yeah.
Right, but the upside to that is you're positioning yourself better for the end of the race. So we need to pass some people right away. We've strategized about the best way we can do that, and then you kind of get into fuel save mode after that and see what the weather does.
Is there any? You have a couple of cars that are part of the the Aeroschmidt Peterson in the fold with you.
Four of us,
right. And is there any strategy talk between the four of you at the start of the race, or anything like that? No more sharing secrets.
We shared all the way through today,
right.
Lead up. But when we get on there, each individual team's trying to do their thing. Each car has its own group of sponsors and supporters and all that type of thing. We try desperately not to crash each other, and we'll try to make that to happen. But we're all under a lot of pressure to produce results for lots of reasons, and it's a free for all when we get out there.
I wanted to ask about Jack, because he's also this is not his first time either. What's he been like this morning, and what's he been like all month to work with versus what you worked with before?
It's just confidence.
Okay.
He just knowing that he can do it, and he believes in the people that support him. And I see it's I don't know, 30-40% more than I've ever seen from last year. That kind of, we had some things brewing this year kind of leading up to this.
Sure.
Some worked pretty good, some didn't work so good, but then, the Grand Prix happened. So all that is just building his level of trust. And ultimately he has to pull the trigger out there, So we're just working on that and encouraging him to be aggressive and get after it and get but I like where he's at.
Okay.
I like his headspace. And I'm proud of him. I mean, he's worked his butt off to get this opportunity.
Well, I appreciate it, and I appreciate the time this morning. I know it's a busy morning for you, and
Absolutely.
we're all sorry, I'm getting signs from behind the camera over here. No, I said I really appreciate it, and good luck today.
Thank you, man.
Thanks.
I appreciate it. Thank you. See you.
Thank you. Yeah, have a good race. That was Michael Shank, Meyer Shank Racing, and we are joined now by Charlie Kimball.
Good morning.
Of Carlin Racing. Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing well, Jim. How about yourself?
Let me shake your hand.
It's race day.
I was gonna say, is this old hat for you now? You just know what you're doing here at this point, right?
Yeah, but I know what I'm doing, but it doesn't get any less special.
Yeah.
This is my 9th Indianapolis 500, and I think it was best described actually by Tony Kanaan because he's been around since 1911.
Yeah,
so
he's done all these races actually.
I think so.
Yeah.
I've seen his results pretty much every year. And he said a couple of years ago in his victory banquet speech, he said, "Some things you do in life, and you check that box. I've done that. For me, maybe claim it hiking Angel's Landing in Zion as being afraid of heights. Done that. It was amazing. I'm not sure I need to do it again." But he said the thing about the Indy 500 is each year you do it, it gets further and further into your soul, deeper in your blood, further into your bones. And he's 100% right. Each year it gets more and more special. And watching the fans stream in this morning, hearing the cannon go off this morning, hearing the yellow shirts whistles, that's just such a part of race morning. And I love it. I look forward to it starting tomorrow morning. I'm looking forward to next year already.
You heard the cannon go off this morning, so you were up pretty early.
Well, I heard it. I then rolled over and went back to sleep. As drivers, we get this incredible opportunity to sleep inside the Indianapolis Motor Speedway the night before the 500. And you wake up and you walk out of the RV and you can feel the electricity in the air and that buzz. And it's just, there are always questions. What the weather's going to do, how good your car is, how many pit stops, what the day holds. But the only question that is answered when you walk out of the bus is it's race day and it's electric.
Do you, like you said, this is 9 for you. Do you let yourself fantasize about what a win would mean and all that kind of stuff, or do you just kind of have to keep that down and stay focused on the day, or is it a mix of both?
I think it's a little bit of both.
Okay.
Especially during the winter when it's 0 degrees and snowy.
Yeah.
Winning the Indianapolis 500 gets me out of bed and gets me to the gym because that's when the preparation physically for this race happens. If you're waiting to May to start training for the 500, you're probably years too late. And so even during the month, I think it's important to visualize as an athlete what you expect, so you're not surprised.
Okay.
And even for my guys, for the 23 crew that have been rock solid all month long, making sure they're not surprised by anything that happens today, from front wing changes to rear wing changes to extra pit stops to fuel only to timed fuel. All of these different things that can happen in 500 miles, they've got to be ready for.
Well, let's go. I want to go back to qualifying a little bit because you obviously had a Saturday that went pretty well according to plan for the most part. For the team, it didn't go that way. What was it like on Sunday watching a couple of your teammates and having to watch them kind of go through that very painful day?
It's with Carlin, we act as one unit, and my heart broke for those guys so much. And it's not just Max and Pato.
Right.
But it's every single one of those mechanics that has put their heart and soul into getting ready for this race. They just did so much, and to not get the opportunity to go out and run the Indianapolis 500 as a mechanic it's heartbreaking. And I don't think I've ever been more nervous at a racetrack than I was before that last row shootout on Sunday for my teammates and their guys. And being able to be there and now kind of represent the team in the 500. I don't know that it adds any pressure, so to speak, because I've always felt the pressure I put on myself to perform is greater than anything else. But I feel like I've got the whole team's support behind me. And, I got asked if I've got an all-star crew now. And I do. And it's the mechanics that put me in the show. Okay. They earn the right to go over the wall in the 103rd running of the Indianapolis 500. just like I qualified for the race because of their help. Now we've got some great alternates in pit lane ready to go if we have any issues, if a guy goes down. But at the same time, they earned that right just like I did, and I look forward to trying to pay them back as much as possible.
It sounds like you saw this as kind of a glass half full situation where, yeah, your teammates missed, but now everyone's focused on you. Everyone's behind your car. Is that the way I know we talked about this earlier last week. You said it was kind of a quiet engineering room, but did it pick up as the week went on a little bit?
It did. I think you have to acknowledge that those teammates aren't there. On Monday during race practice, first time they plugged in after the long run, they go, "Oh, what do you think?" And I gave them the feedback and told them about the car. And then I go, I just want to acknowledge that I want to ask what Max is dealing with and what Pato's got and what changes they've made that we can learn from. And we can move on after that. But I needed to acknowledge that because it's very different. It's something I've never dealt with in my career. And I think mechanics, engineers, drivers, it's the only place in the world now that you really deal with that. And it is the biggest stage in racing.
All right, let's talk about you and your race. We've talked about it before, I think on Media Day, how tough it is going to be to pass when you're behind when you're behind enough cars. The dirty air is going to be tough. So what is your plan? Is the start and the restart going to be where you are going to have to make up a lot of ground?
I think they can be, but I also think yellows may breed yellows more often today because people will be taking risks on starts and restarts, on the start and the restarts, excuse me, not multiple starts.
Well,
let's hope not.
It'd be a fun twist, Also with the weather, you're right, I didn't think about that. Never mind.
We're going to be fine. I was watching the weather this morning, and it looks like it's all pushing north.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Because you're of the drivers here that I would trust with their weather opinion, you're the guy. So you're thinking it's okay?
I just coalesce a lot of different data points. And I was watching different TV stations, looking at 3 or 4 or 5. As many apps as I could download. Literally, I have the whole App Store weather category on my phone to look through.
Their best customer.
Well, I think so. There's about a 30% chance of rain between 3 or 4 o'clock. There seems to be this high pressure band that's pushing everything north of the speedway. It's a question of if that collapses, if that shoves south a little bit. I think we're going to be good. I think all the traditions will go off. I think we'll take the green flag. We may be racing to 101, or we may be racing to lap 200. And I think that goes back to what your question was about starts and restarts.
Right.
Because if people think we're racing to 101, lap 1 to 101 is going to be crazy. Lap 1 to 101 is going to feel like lap 150 to 200 in years past. A lot of time, drivers will just ride around for the first 100, figure out what they've got, get the pit stops in the book, let other people make mistakes, make less mistakes than them. But if people think we're racing weather, and we might be, it's going to be a 200-lap sprint or a sprint until the rain.
How is that going to feel inside the car? I mean, that's got to be, I mean, you're already tense because it's the Indy 500, but that's going to be, if the first 100 laps are like the last 50, it's going to be a wild day.
Yeah, I think I'm going to be mentally pretty tired at the end of the day because it takes a lot of concentration. When you're doing 220, top speed at 235, 240 into the corners, and the way the dirty air is, the car gets really active under you. And you've got to be really conscientious, and especially here, being 500 miles, you want to be really smart about when you take those risks and how you take those risks. Because to finish first, you first must finish.
We were talking to Graham Rahal earlier this week, and he said something about when he said everybody saw Alex Rossi last year as a hero when he did what he did, and rightfully so, going from 32nd to 4th. But he said you also, those things crossed through your mind of like, if I take this risk now, I might ruin a whole year's worth of work for the team, and maybe I shouldn't be taking that risk. Do those things kind of cross your mind as you're going through?
I think Alex looked like a hero last year because it worked. There's a fine line between genius and insanity. and
he's walking it?
And he was. He successfully walked it last year. So it's a question of how far you push and when. And I think that line shifts as you get further and further into the race. If you've got a really good race car, you don't want to jeopardize it early. You want to keep making it better as the conditions evolve, the track changes, the wind, the cloud cover, all of those things come into play. And you don't want to jeopardize that early. You want to be able to take advantage of it in the last 50 laps of whatever the race distance becomes today. So what does your crystal ball say for the weather?
For the weather? I say we get the whole thing in.
I like it.
And I think if the rain comes, just after it was like Takuma. Remember Takuma Sato's win a couple of years ago? Everyone thought there was going to be rain. Everybody was worried about it all day, and then it was like right after the victory celebration. That's when it started coming down. I'm predicting a repeat of that.
All right.
And for no logical, I haven't downloaded any of the apps. I've been too scared to look at the weather, to be honest with you. I just want to get this thing in.
Yeah.
I really want it to happen today. What would coming back Monday be like for you? If you had to.
I think the challenge would be managing that mental energy.
Okay.
Making sure to spend time in the RV, unwind, disconnect, and then make sure to go through my same routine to get ready, prepared, get up, so to speak, for the race.
What is the routine this morning? Before I let you go, because I know you got a busy morning to go through.
I heard the cannon go off at 6,
Okay.
rolled over, snoozed for another 30, 45 minutes, had breakfast, sat and watched some of the pre-race stuff on all the local channels,
Okay.
checked in on the weather, chatted with my wife a little bit about today's strategy.
Okay.
Good cup of coffee, went over, had a strategy meeting with the team, watched the first lap of the Monaco Grand Prix.
Nice.
Now I'm going to go relax, get my fire suit on, make sure that my helmets are with the team, make sure my drink bottles are ready to go, and then just keep an eye on my blood glucose, watch my Dexcom G6, see what the trend's doing.
Okay.
Have lunch here at about 10:15, 10:30.
Okay.
So it's more of a brunch, I guess,
Yeah.
Sunday brunch,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, sure.
And then just be ready to go. We do an awesome walkout through Gasoline Alley. There is nothing like
I was going to ask you what your
walking
favorite
through
moment.
Gasoline
Is that-
Alley with all of the sponsor, everyone from Novo Nordisk, and even people from Gallagher Insurance are here.
Okay.
Max didn't make the race,
Right.
but they're still here supporting.
That's great.
We'll line up and as a group walk out through Gasoline Alley, and to see that front straight, it's giving me goosebumps talking about it, Jim. It's my absolute favorite moment until the opportunity to pull into victory lane.
I can't imagine a better way to end this. Like I said, that was perfect, and I think you gave people a perfect sense of what you're looking forward to and what's coming up later in the race. So thank you
Awesome.
very much for joining us.
And I'm starting to lose my voice, so it's a good time to end.
That's good. By the way, I think meteorologists, after the driving career is done, I think you have a future as a meteorologist.
Yeah, the problem is, as an amateur, I'd never get paid. But if I get it right, like 40% of the time, that's like top level. That's
good.
top shelf
Yeah.
meteorology.
I think you can do it. As I
Awesome.
said, don't quit driving anytime soon, but
Well, I'm not coming after Chuck Lofton's job, that's for sure. Thanks,
All right,
Jim.
Thanks, Charlie. All right, that was Charlie Kimball with Carlin Racing. We are going to head to commercial break. Thank you for watching us so far on Pit Pass Live, presented by Honda.
There's a challenging spirit within Honda. It gives us the courage to go faster and the thinking to make it real. Whether it looks like a truck, a sedan, or a coupe, inside is the heart of a race car.
Welcome back to IndyStar's Pit Pass Live, brought to you by Honda. We are again coming to you live from Gasoline Alley. He is Jim Aiello. I am Mac Linesk. So far, we promised guests. We have delivered on guests. We have had 2 drivers and a team owner so far, and all 3 of them kind of similar underdogs.
Yeah, a little bit.
Kind of. So that leads me to a segue, and we'll get to our race predictions later. But who are some of the dark horses we need to look out for in this race? Everyone knows the favorites.
I was going to say, let me pull out my handy-dandy list
Pull
here
out
and
your
take a look.
handy-dandy list and give us some of your dark horses. People, especially in 101, if it might be a 101-lap race, there might be some crazy stuff to happen.
This is not going to count. People are going to be mad at me for calling this a dark horse, but because he's starting 18th, Scott Dixon, I think, could make up a lot of ground very quickly and be a threat to win this race, even if it is 101. He's got a really good car in traffic. Alexander Rossi has a similar strong car, but he's starting up.
Yeah, he's not a dark horse.
Not a dark horse. He's won the race before, and so is Scott. And Scott is a 5-time champion. So I'll pick another one in a minute. But I just wanted to fit this in. That Scott Dixon starting 18th is by far not out of this race. I know passing is going to be tough. You've heard from Kyle. You've heard from Charlie. They've said it's going to be an issue a little bit. You're going to have to make some hay on starts and restarts. But I think Scott Dixon's going to have a good enough car in traffic to maybe not do what Alexander Rossi did last year. And by the way, we've heard everybody reference what Alexander Rossi did last year.
Yeah, I mean, it was amazing.
It was incredible. And so
it was the show of the race.
It was absolutely right. Until Willpower freaked out and threw milk on people, that was the best
And
part
said
of the
respect me expletive.
It was great.
Yeah.
I mean, who didn't love that? But no, you're right though. Alexander Rossi was the showstopper. He stole the show, really. And so everyone is going back and watching him, seeing what he did, seeing how bold he was, and saying, okay, can we do that? Can we pull that off? So I think there's going to be some guys in the back of the field who are going to try that. I think James Hinchcliffe has a pretty good car from the back. That'll be interesting. I don't know if he counts as a dark horse.
I mean, if you're starting 32nd.
I was going to say, you know who I do like? I mean, I got to say, I don't think Charlie Kimball's got a bad chance. He's got a good car. How about James Davison, though, from the from the Dale Coyne and Bellardi team? I'm missing team. Sorry, Bellardi and Bird. I don't know how I forgot that already.
It's okay.
It's been a long month. It's been a long month. No, they guys have had a surprisingly strong car. Haven't got a lot of buzz. So, and I hate when I say that because that's my fault. I didn't give them a lot of buzz or a lot of media attention this month. But they've been really strong, consistent. There is no more confident driver in the paddock than James Davison. That guy believes in himself more than anybody else, which is what you have to have out here in the Indianapolis 500. You can't go in meek. Again, if you're going to pull off the Alexander Rossi thing, you got to really believe in yourself. Now I got to talk a little quieter. Yeah,
it's not like you have a microphone in your face.
But no, I think James Davis. How about that one? Is James Davison a good enough underdog?
James Davis is a good enough dark horse. All right. So you talked about someone who's been having a good month here. Has any team had a better month than Ed Carpenter Racing?
No, I mean, how could you? You got the car starting in 2, 3, 4. Ed Carpenter starting in the middle of the first row for the 100th time, I think.
Seems like it.
Yeah. So that guy, and everybody I've talked to, I shouldn't say everybody, but a few people I've talked to, including Connor Daly, my podcast host, has said Ed Jones has the best car in this field. He has the best car.
I picked him to finish second.
Well, that's a good pick because he's finished third before and got robbed Rookie of the Year by Fernando Alonso a couple of years ago, which was.
I remember that was dramatic.
Yes, it was.
We won't have that happen this year.
That is. No, those guys are not a threat to take it from him this year. But, no, Ed Jones has got a really, really strong car. And a guy I really like is Spencer Pigot. And again, you can't call a guy that's starting on row 1 an underdog. But
you can't. He hasn't won an IndyCar race, correct?
No, it's the first. No,
he was. I know at least 4 years ago. He was 3 years ago. We thought of a young up and comer.
Absolutely, great Indy Lights driver,
and really hasn't had that moment yet. He is in a rocket ship right now.
Absolutely.
All those Ed Carpenter guys are in rocket ships, so they all have a chance. But is it? I mean, can he really? You think Spencer Pigot has a chance? I mean, I guess starting second.
Yeah, I was going to say he's starting up front, and again, we talked about how hard passing is going to be. He has the rocket ship, and he's had experience here now. He's done this before. He's done it with Juncos, actually. He's done it with Ed Carpenter before. He knows what it takes here. I think this is year 4 for him, if I have that count right. So he's not a rookie. He knows he's had experience, even though we've seen rookies have won. Alexander Rossi won this thing a few years ago. But no, Spencer Pigot, I talked to him the other day, very calm, very confident in the car, and just really got to his, I mean, you've never seen a happier driver after qualifying on Saturday. Just saying he was the provisional pole sitter until they came back out on Sunday, but just knowing he could watch the entire day unfold with his legs crossed back in his trailer, taking a little bit of relax, no pressure, didn't have to worry about being bumped. I mean, that guy really has been soaking it in, enjoying and staying calm, which I think is very key going into the race.
And rounding out the team, obviously, is the team owner, Ed Carpenter. Is there a bigger sentimental favorite to win this race in Indianapolis?
In Indianapolis, I mean, no, probably not, right? I mean, I think the people here, I think that the fan favorites here are Ed Carpenter, Tony Kanaan, maybe Elio Castroneves. I think those guys, and then James Hinchcliffe, I think, is starting to kind of grow that fan base within it. Obviously, he's a national star. How
about a Marco Andretti, the 50th anniversary of his grandfather winning this race?
That would be the biggest story, I think. To me, nationally, for IndyCar, I think that's the big. I don't know if he's the most popular in Indianapolis. I don't know. I don't think he's unpopular in Indianapolis, but nationally, that's the biggest story, is if Marco Andretti breaks the Andretti curse, which, for the millionth time, I'm doing this for you, Mario. There is no Andretti curse. He hates that. He really, really just hates it. He said they've had a lot of misfortune here, but this is a race that's also been really good to them. Michael's led a ton of laps here. Michael's won 5 races as a team owner, and Mario likes to point that out continuously. And Marco's been really, really good here. Is this the year he can put it all together? I don't know, but he's driving that STP car in honor of his grandfather. Man, that thing looks cool. Can't wait for people to see that on track and on TV. If you haven't seen it this month already, it's really great. And Marco's been phenomenal at the Speedway. I think he's got an absolute legitimate chance to come up. He's starting 10th. The Andretti cars are always strong here. And yeah, winning on the 50th anniversary, I think what Mario said was it'll be a celebration like you've never seen before if Marco Andretti won. And he also said he'd do some snow angels in pit lane, which I think would be a pretty cool thing to see too.
Nice. So let's go back to Ed for a little bit. So he's basically done everything but win the Indy 500 at this track. When it comes to, he's won 2 poles?
Yeah, 3.
3 poles. Finished second last year, right? I mean, so he's gotten as close. I mean, he probably has to dread but also love this event.
I think it's because it's it for him. This is what he cares about. This is he does the other. Well, it was 6 ovals last year. It's only 5 this year, but this is what he cares about. This is the number one thing on his list. This is what he wakes up in the morning dreaming about, is winning the Indianapolis 500. Local kid, went to Butler, loves it here. This is his day. And last year was, I think, one of the more painful days of his life, just because he was this close. He had a car that was almost as good as Will Powers, and just barely couldn't keep up with him. And so I think that one stung for a while, but that's the kind of thing that motivates you. And Ed, he always makes me laugh. He's 38 years old. He doesn't drive all the races. People always seem to want to push him out of the car. And he always tells me, I don't have an expiration date on my butt. I'm going to keep coming out here in Indianapolis. I'm going to keep giving it a shot. I think that guy will drive till he's, at least in Indianapolis, till he's 45. So you're not going to see the last of him, even if he doesn't win this one. But this means everything to him. And we've seen he's had the pole car 3 times like we talked about. He's starting on the front row again. And he's starting to kind of, his results, if you look through the years, they're getting better. He's starting to, I asked him, are you entering your prime here in Indianapolis? He laughed. He said, I don't know about that, but he thinks he's getting better. The team clearly has a setup here that works. They've lost engineer after engineer over the years, and yet they're quick. And so if Ed's gonna make it happen, there's no better year to make it happen now.
All right, let's talk about Elio. Is it still a little weird to you, to IndyCar fans, to not see Elio on a week-to-week basis?
Yeah, it is.
That this is it?
Yeah, I think it's like he's such a fan favorite. He's such a great personality, and then he only comes out in Indianapolis, which again for him, it's what he cares about now. It's the only thing left that he hasn't really done. I shouldn't say that. He didn't win an IndyCar championship, and I know that hurt him a little bit. But again, when you're a 3-time Indy 500 winner, I think that's okay. The guy's a no doubt lock Hall of Famer whenever he's done. But yeah, it's strange. It's strange, but he's always got such a huge smile on his face. All the other guys, Justin Newgarden, Power, Pagano, they love having him here. So as soon as you see that yellow car and that yellow fire suit, you're like, oh yeah, that's right. That's he belongs here. This is what he does. And now he's going for history. We don't have many guys who have won 4. We only have 3 of them, and they're getting older. So he would be the next generation, the legacy to carry on. Something that, as this field gets tougher and tougher and more stacked with competition, I don't know if we're going to see another 4-time winner again. So Elio's got a great chance to make history. All
right, well, you've talked about some legacy drivers, obviously the Andretti's. How about Graham Murray Hall? How was his car coming into this month?
It's kind of been up and down. I think he's had days where he's confident, days where he's not so confident, but he's another one that...
Isn't that how Graham always is?
Yes.
Up and down?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that's how he
and
feels.
Honest.
Exactly. And that's the thing about Graham Rahal that I love so much, is that when he's had a bad day, he tells you he had a bad day. And when he's had a good day, he's going to tell you he had a good day. And he's not going to sugarcoat it one way or the other. And I do love that about Graham. And about that team, honestly. I think all of them are kind of like that. And they have some good cars. They didn't have the best qualifying. I think they felt like they should have been stronger there.
Well, they went out again late. They gave up their time. And
they did. It was. I'm glad you brought that up. That was one of the ballsiest moves.
It was. They were in the 20s and they got all the way up to 17th, 16th.
And no one knew. Like he was in that fast lane, and I was going, when is he going to get out? And what's his strategy here? Is he just trying to kill clock? Trying to protect one of his other drivers, and I was like, there's no way he's going to throw away his time. There's no way he's going to throw away his time. Why would he do that? And then he goes out there, throws away his time, improves it up to, I think it's 17? Is that right?
I think he might have improved like 9 spots.
It was a great roll of the dice, and it worked out really well for him. And I think he's pretty happy with the car in traffic. Again, you say that with these guys with the car in traffic, it's going to be so hard to pass. I feel like I'm warning people now, but as the sun is starting to peak out, and if we keep the rain away and it gets really hot, it's going to be a little bit like last year. Now, it won't be 125, 130 degree track temperatures like it was.
I'm not sweating right now. So
I know.
Great.
Well, we got a 10 over.
We do have a 10. Thank you, Clark Wade.
We're cheating.
For the 10.
Yes, Clark Wade, a million shout-outs. We'll give them all at the end, though. But no, I think Graham's pretty happy with his car. I actually think Takuma Sato, a former winner here, is pretty happy with his car. And Takuma is a guy that we just talked to all these drivers, these team owners that say, we're going to have to roll the dice. Because if it rains, you're going to have to get aggressive. Well, there's nobody more aggressive. There's nobody that likes to roll the dice more than Takuma Sato. And he's made it pay off in a big, big way.
All right, well, let's talk about another Andretti Autosport driver, that being your podcast co-host on IndyCar Weekly. You can get on IndyStar.com and iTunes.
Thank you.
Connor Daly. Connor Daly qualified, was he 11th?
Yeah.
This is a guy who's been so snake-bitten with what's happened here. One time his car was on fire before the race even started.
Yes.
Doesn't have a full-time ride this year. Has really, when he's been given the opportunity, especially on some road courses, he has done fairly well. But this is it for him. This is the shot. So what is, and you've talked with him quite a bit.
Yeah.
What has this preparation been like for Connor? And I know he's fantastic on the podcast. He really gives great insight on what it's like to be an IndyCar driver, things that, you wouldn't think about. He's talking about things that happen in the back of the field that really are illuminating.
And he does it in a very colorful way.
Yes, he does. Yes, he does.
Obsessive, all-consuming. I feel like if you ask about his preparation, he has been, as soon as he signed the deal, he was asking the guys at Andretti, when can I come to the pit stand? When can I start taking in the data? What can I look at? When can I get to the engineering meetings? And when they kick him out of some engineering meetings, he gets mad because he just wants to take in as much as he can. I know he kind of comes across as a goofball to a lot of guys, but the guy's very serious about racing, and he wants to be a full-time driver. And he knows He's trying not to let the pressure get to him, but he knows this is a big chance for him. It's a big shot. This is clearly the best car he's ever had at the Indianapolis 500, and he doesn't want to throw that away. He's got a great relationship with the guys at Andretti. He's got a great relationship with the guys at the U.S. Air Force who've come back for a second year in a row.
That car is beautiful.
Oh, man. I love the fire suit, too. He looks like a Top Gun pilot.
That car is beautiful.
It's great. So he understands the importance of this race. I think he's trying very hard not to let the pressure of that get to him, because what's it going to do? It's not going to help you at all. And so I don't want to get too much into the psyche of Connor Daly when he's not here, but I do think he understands what's at stake here. And he needs to perform top 10, maybe even top 5, to try to push his career in the direction that he wants it to go. And so the good thing for him is that he has a car that's finally – I don't want to say he's made excuses in the past, but he just hasn't had cars that are capable of moving to the front.
Facts are facts.
Yeah.
Reality is reality.
Last year with the car he had, he was just trying to hold on, make sure the thing didn't crash, and hope for the best in case, hope other people crash in front of you and maybe you can make it to the top 10. This year he doesn't have to hope. He's got a car that's capable of moving to the front of the field. He knows, again, we're talking about guys who know what they're doing here. He's been here multiple times. The guy grew up here. It's Noblesville.
Yeah, he's from Noblesville.
He knows.
Yeah.
And we talk about Ed Carpenter, about this meaning everything. This means everything to Connor Daly, too. And a win here, and like I said, I don't think he's thinking about a win. I think he's thinking about a good result, and even that, I think, helps push the career forward in the way that he's hoping.
Okay, I feel like, and maybe it's your fault again, and I don't mind blaming you.
Probably.
That we kind of haven't heard a lot about Will Power this month.
Yeah. Well,
we haven't heard a lot about Scott Dixon, who you talked about.
Right.
We haven't heard a lot about Ryan Hunter-Reay.
Right.
I mean, these are all guys who are winners of this race.
Yes.
Do we take them for granted? Because they're the old hands, and everyone likes they like the New Gardens, they like the Hinchcliffes.
Yeah. To be fair, they haven't had great weeks. I mean, Will's starting 6th, so understandable. But I've heard a couple of people tell me that he might have the worst Penske car.
Really?
Pagano might have a better one. Joseph might have a better one. I don't know about Elio and him. It might be kind of close on that. But if he's going to win, if he's going to defend that, last year's win, he's going to have to do something magical. And I don't know that he has quite the car that he had last year. So it should be interesting to see. And I think that's kind of the reason why he hasn't gotten as much publicity recently. Ryan Hunter-Reay. I mean, what are we starting with, Ryan? 22nd? Yeah, 22nd. I can't believe that's true. Ryan Hunter-Reay never starts that far back in the field. He is so good at qualifying here. He is so, even if he's won this race, obviously, but he just usually starts in the Fast 9. All those Andretti cars usually do, and they just really haven't had the speed. And especially when you see guys like teammates like Connor Daly, right? And Marco Andretti and Alexander Rossi, and they're at the front of the field, kind of left scratching your head. It's going, what's going on with Ryan Hunter-Reay? What's going on with Zach Veach? Where are their Andretti cars right now? So I think he's a bit of a mystery, a bit of a wild card going in. And now I'm forgetting the last person you asked me about. Who was the other one?
Ryan Hunter, Scott Dixon.
Scott Dixon, yeah.
We talked a little bit about it already.
Scott,
your dark horse doing the race.
Scott just didn't have, as we all know, I think we've seen throughout the month, these Chevrolet cars, and I know we're on Pit Pass Live presented by Honda. But Honda hasn't had the top-end speed that Chevrolet has had. It's just a fact this year. And I think Scott and those Honda drivers have had to make up for some things in terms of having better balanced cars, or hoping to have better balanced cars, and that will pay off in the race. So what we're thinking is Scott's race car is better than his qualifying car. So while he qualified further back, maybe he'll be able to charge to the front by having a better balanced car. Like I said, I told you I think he's a little bit of a dark horse to make some noise. Even though last year the guy finished 3rd, and it was like the least talked about 3rd place finish ever, because it's Scott Dixon, and you're just like, oh yeah, it's the Iceman, he's finishing 3rd. That's what he does. That's what he always does. He always, either, if he doesn't win, no one talks about Scott, because Scott's just Scott, and he's possibly the best IndyCar driver of his generation. I don't know. Will Power's up there for sure, but that's pretty much where the conversation stops. Dario Franchitti, sorry. There's a couple other ones, but Scott was a 5-time champion. No one other than AJ Foyt's done that. So yeah, I think, back to your point, I do think we take him for granted a little bit.
Okay, and let's talk about Joseph Newgarden.
Okay.
A young American driver with a Danish name, but that's okay. Won't hold it against him, but it might hurt, some name recognition around the country. People like to have their American drivers to root for. But he's a guy who's won the series, but still is kind of faceless to many Americans, the American public.
Sure.
What would winning the Indy 500 mean for IndyCar and for Joseph Newgarden to have that young American? Alexander Rossi was a young American, but he's got an Italian name, that kind of thing. The Ed Jones has got the American name, and he's from United Arab Emirates. Go figure.
Yeah, right.
But what would that mean? Is Joseph's got the face for it. He's
sure.
Obviously got the talent for it. What would a win here mean?
No, you're not. You're not wrong. He's a good-looking, charming, charismatic guy.
I didn't want to say he's good-looking, but he's a good-looking
He's a
guy.
Good guy, absolutely.
Yeah,
Don't be afraid to admit it. He is.
Yeah.
And he always calls himself an introvert. and he is, I think, at heart. But he's so good about when he's out in the crowd. He's out with people. He's a great personality. He's easy to talk to. Fans love him when they get a chance to know him. But like you said, I don't know if a lot of people have taken the chance to get to know him, even after that IndyCar championship. And I think the Indy 500, winning that puts you on a different level. I mean, as much as, and that's not great to say for IndyCar. You'd like to think that the championship and the 500 are on somewhat equal footing. But it's not the case.
They're not.
It's not. And
I
so
mean, look at the ratings on the last race of the year compared to the ratings for the Indy 500.
100%. You're right. So as you said, and IndyCar will work on that, obviously, and try to make that a different story. But
maybe you finish the series here with the GP.
I would love that, as I've written about. I think it's a good idea. I think it's a good idea to finish in front of the Midwestern fans who are the lifeblood of this series.
Not wine country?
Yeah, not my favorite thing. I love being out in wine country.
Yeah.
I'll enjoy having a glass every once in a while. But no, I mean, like I said, if I had my druthers, we do it on not on this oval. We do it on an oval. We do it in the Midwest in front of.
So St. Louis.
That was what I.
The Gateway.
That's what I wanted
Yeah.
last year, but didn't happen.
They don't ask
They
you?
didn't ask me.
They don't
I
ask-
called Mark Miles and I said, "Here's my idea," and he said, "Yeah, we had that idea and we already shot it down, so don't worry about it."
Speaking of Mark Miles, he will be on the show later today.
Yes, he will, and he'll. I don't think I'll ask him about that today. I'll check in with him later about it. But no, back to your point, Joseph would be a great winner for the Indianapolis 500. He's already a great ambassador, and like I said, I think you're right. I think it speaks to he needs to get. It would help him get his face out there more, and that would be great for IndyCar because he's a young, up and coming driver who's going to be carrying the series for a long, long time. I think he and Alexander Rossi have a budding rivalry, which we haven't really seen a lot of. Last year it was Wickens and Rossi, and that was a lot of fun.
That was a lot of fun,
and it could have been, and it could have been great. And hopefully we get it again if Robert is able to come back. But Joseph and Alex are two of the most talented drivers in the field. Andretti Autosport, Team Penske. It could be a lot of fun, and like I said, if Alex wins the championship and Joseph wins the 500, and they each have 1-1, that could be a lot of fun for the going forward for the next few years.
All right, good deal. Well, who else haven't we talked about?
I was going to say, who do you want to talk about? How about Colton Herta?
Colton could be the youngest Indy 500 winner of all time, Colton Herta. And then we say that, and then Zach Kiefer writes a story about an 11-year-old who wants to win the Indy 500.
Exactly. That was what a great story. Elliot Cox. Yeah, if you haven't checked that out,
Go ahead and talk about Colton Herta, the drumming, long-haired son of a driver, son of a team owner.
Not son of a gun, son of a driver. Yeah.
I didn't say son of a gun. And his team owner is George Steinbrenner IV, obviously of the Yankees Steinbrenner. So they've got a lot of star power, a lot going
cachet
on
for sure.
Yeah.
No, I mean, and
he's already won a race.
He's already won.
He won at Austin.
He was the youngest IndyCar winner ever. Colton Herta at Austin. It was a great race. He's an incredibly talented driver. Obviously, everybody knows they're using a little bit of that Andretti Autosport setup. But what's been fun is talking to these Andretti Autosport guys about hey, he's got your setup. He's got all your equipment. Why is he going faster than you guys? And there's some frustration at the Andretti camp for sure. And a lot of credit goes out to Colton Herta's engineer Nathan O'Rourke for making that car really quick. And then to go back to Colton Herta, he's just an immensely talented driver. He and Nathan have great chemistry. And Colton, I mean, he is just. You talk to the guys, the engineers, Brian Barnhart, the president of that team. They say Colton is just wise beyond his years. The guy understands. As soon as he feels something in the car, he's able to come back to the pit, communicate it to the team, and they're able to make that fix. I mean, as a 19-year-old, that's incredible communication, and most guys don't have that. It takes years to develop that, and he has that. And he also has this swagger I love.
He does. I mean, Mike Berardino at IndyStar.com, wrote a feature on Colton.
Yeah.
And it's like the engineers are talking to him. He's like, I got it.
Yeah.
It's like, I got it.
I know what I'm doing.
An 18-year-old at the time saying, I got this. Don't worry about this.
Did you see when he was up there with Fernando Alonso?
When they asked about Alonso, and he's like, you can go ahead.
Yeah, he said, is it kind of a thrill to be up there with Fernando Alonso? And he goes, not really. He's one of my competitors. Like, it's cool if we were in Europe and we were on at his home track, maybe. He's like, but he's coming to my turf now.
Yeah.
And that's he's like, it's going to be cool racing with us, I think. And so love that swagger. I think you got to have that. And it was a lot of fun. But we're going to take a break here. I'm sorry. I'm just horrible on live TV. Thank you, Clark Wade, for being on the thing. We're gonna hear from Ed Carpenter, who we spoke to recently. He's starting in the middle of the second row, as we talked about, and he's got a great chance to win this race. All right, so the first thing I wanted to ask you, though, is, and this is a weird one, but how does rain change your mentality as this race starts?
You can't really let it. I don't think. At the beginning, it's nothing's gonna be official until halfway at best. So. You've got a couple stops before that's going to happen. So, to me, no. It can be hard just in general when you're dealing with weather, whether it's a delay or whatever. It makes it a lot harder to kind of stay in the right mindset, when you don't know when you're going to go. But, that's one of those things when you're older and you've been through it a bunch of times, it makes it a little easier to to know how to adapt.
If you're looking at the forecast though ahead of the race, and is there going to be a point where you're like, all right, I need to be leading at 101?
From the car, it's really hard to deal with that. I just have to go out and do my job, and the guys on the timing stand will be monitoring all those things, and they'll let me know. I'll be able to sense from their urgency, what we need to be trying to do or where we need to try to get to.
All right, as far as the oval, I think I've asked you this before, but I mean, your results the last couple of years have spoke for themselves. Obviously, you've been on the pole a few times, starting in the front row. You feel like you're hitting your prime, your sweet spot in terms of the oval driving here?
I still feel like I'm getting better, so that's a good thing. Hopefully that turns into enough for a win one of these years. But just the team just continues to do a great job building great cars, and we were able to show that in qualifying with second, third, and fourth for the whole team, which is phenomenal. And I'm just as excited about the race car, so ready to get this thing going and hope it's a full 500 miles.
Is there something that you've procured over the years about this place that has made you better over the last couple of years, like you said?
I mean, I think I have a good feel for the car and what it needs to do, when and how. And I think the team has a good understanding of that as well, and the processes that we have seem to be working and providing consistency. Need to transfer that to other venues as well, but we're working on that.
Is there a year, though, that you felt like everything kind of clicked, or has it really just been like a gradual,
It's gradual, but even within that, like 14, we had a really, really good car, and then 15 we came back and we missed, and so it hasn't all been good, but I think we learned some things in 15, even in a poor year for us here, that have made us better moving down the road. So you have to constantly analyze the good and the bad and figure out how to come back better.
How big of a point of pride is it? Like you said, you guys have had good cars here, but you see teams like Penske and Andretti. They have great cars here often, but they have some off years. You guys really don't seem to be having off years recently.
15 was really bad, and 17 we qualified second, but it wasn't that great of a race. We haven't won the race yet. Those guys have been winning races, so they're doing something better than us.
All right, you got three guys up front in the first two rows. So are you guys coordinating a plan as to how that start of the race will go?
It's really hard to coordinate starts of races, especially Indy 500s, but hopefully we can all stay together and, definitely can insulate one another a little bit. But, it's a lot of that's going to be dependent on what the pace looks like, whether the sun's shining like it is right now or if it's cloudy, and how aggressive other guys are being will dictate what we have to do.
Yeah, how much studying do you do of the guys who you're starting around and go, okay, I kind of know their tendencies from other races?
Colton's probably the biggest wild card is, first oval race in an Indy car, first 500. So, but clearly he knows what he's doing and is a very smart driver. So, I'm not really that worried about anyone in the field, to be honest. Yeah,
no. Is there a point where you? I don't know, do you talk to the people that you're starting around? Obviously, your own drivers, but do you talk to anybody else? I know some drivers kind of tend to say, this is, let's just stay out of trouble early.
No. I mean, they've got a job to do. I've got a job to do. Obviously, as a team, we talk. But, once the green flag drops, we're all out there to accomplish the same goal, and you've got to respect that out of everyone.
All right, last question for you is, I don't know.
Welcome back to IndyStar Pit Pass Live, brought to you by Honda. I am Mac Linesk. He is IndyStar Racing Insider and USA Today Sports Racing Insider.
Hey.
Jim Aiello. All right, so we've talked about almost everyone who's in the field. Let's talk about someone who's not in the field. That is Fernando Alonso, which was a big surprise to everyone. Qualifying day was nuts. It was dramatic. He came here with McLaren. They admitted they came here unprepared.
Yeah.
Can you just talk a little bit about what that whole process was like, and then we'll talk about what it means that he's not in this field, what it means for IndyCar or internationally.
So they fired this thing up. I mean, I think they announced it in October or November that they were going to say, hey, McLaren Indy is coming to Indianapolis. We're coming to try to win the Indianapolis 500. We're trying to get Fernando Alonso to get that final jewel in his Triple Crown. And it was a really good idea.
And they didn't show up with the steering wheel in Texas.
It was a good idea, and that's what it all. I think the idea was the last good thing that went their way. I mean, the execution was just. I mean, I don't think Zach Brown, the CEO of McLaren, would say it different. It was just poor. I mean, it was below McLaren level.
I mean, but they had been here before. They were here last year or 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So it's not like they came in like not knowing what the Indy 500 was about and how hard it was.
I know, and
but I know they had the help of Andretti 2 years ago.
Exactly. Well, and that's the difference, right? Because last year or 2 years ago, man, we keep doing that. It was essentially an Andretti car. So McLaren had their name on it, and they were able to kind of put their stamp on it, and it was Fernando Alonso. But that was an Andretti car. That's essentially the car Connor Daly's driving right now, right? It's that 5th Andretti car. So that's what he had. Now when you come back here, it's a whole different thing trying to get the project together yourself. And it's weird to say that they underestimated the challenge, or at least didn't understand what it was going to take, because they had guys like Gilles de Ferran. They had guys like Zach Brown. They had guys like Andy Brown as an engineer and mechanic. They had guys who have been here and done that before, and yet it didn't come together. And
some of that arrogance, or some of that just...
It depends who you ask, honestly. Some people think that it is arrogance. They came here just thinking there are small teams like Juncos and Dragon Speed and Clausen Marshall Racing, and we'll just get in the show. And I maybe there was some of that, but again, they have Gilles de Ferran he knows what it takes to be in this race. He knows how hard it is. And so it's odd to me that it would just be arrogance, and so it just seemed like they had some really good plans and that were never able to kind of make it all work together. Like you talked about, no steering wheel. I mean, it was just one of those things that they go to Texas Motor Speedway to test with Fernando Alonso, and they don't have a steering wheel ready to go when he's supposed to get on track at 9 a.m. This is their first test. This is their first oval test as a team. This is the moment they've been building to for months, and they're not ready. How is that possible? How can that happen? So then you fast forward to a couple months later, and Fernando Alonso crashes. They have to get the backup car ready, but they can't get the backup car on track because the car is not painted the proper color of papaya orange. What are you talking about? Get the car on track. Turn some laps. I mean, Fernando Alonso said it best on Saturday morning after he turned one of the slowest times in the field. After his first run, he said, when Juncos crashed, they were back out there. When Hinch crashed, they were back out there 3 hours later. It took us a day and a half. There's no excuse for that. You have to be ready.
This is a team that's, as said, they would like to have a full IndyCar ride, a full season ride. Does this sour them at all on that?
To me, obviously, I think that's what it looks like from the outside, but how, if you're McLaren, if you're Zach Brown, how can this be the final taste you leave in IndyCar's mouth, at the Indy 500's mouth? It's an embarrassment. It's humiliating, not to make the field when you have the kind of resources you have, when you have Fernando Alonso doing everything he can to put your car in the field and you can't make it. I don't think I'm out of line in saying that they feel both those things and that they have to come back. I don't think they have a choice. That can't be the last thing that you do here in Indianapolis. And so when they want to come to IndyCar, I think IndyCar is. So we almost had a live shot of a yellow shirt come right through here. That would have been fun.
Do I get to blow a whistle at him?
Yes. No, but I think they have to. For me, they've talked about buying a team. Just instead of starting their own team, they've talked about just buying one. I think you either have to do that or you have to start a full season program in order to perform in Indianapolis the way you want to, because it's so hard to come in here. I mean, credit to the guys like Dreyer Reinbold who just come in here and fire up two cars and make the field. I mean, that's hard. That's really hard to do. You have to build chemistry within your team. You have to understand whose job and responsibilities things are. You have to understand all those things, and that happens as you work through a season of racing, the first 4 or 5 races, even if it's not an oval. It just helps to have 5 races under your belt by the time you get ready for Indianapolis. So to me, if McLaren really wants to take this thing seriously, it's going to take a bigger investment. Come to Indy, do it right, and then you can make up. Then you can make it up to all of your McLaren fans. Then you can make it up to Fernando. It's Gilles de Ferran. I credit him for after they failed to make the show, he came up, he sat next to Fernando Alonso, got in front of a microphone, and apologized. Said, "I'm sorry to the fans. I'm sorry to Fernando. Fernando, you're incredible." And so that's.
He was signing autographs as he was walking off out of the track.
Yeah.
He gets it.
He does. He understands, and he was just as frustrated as he was. And believe me, Connor Daly and him text or I should say Instagram message each other.
Or Snapchat.
Yeah, they talk. He was upset. He was frustrated, but he kept it together in front of everybody. He handled himself like a professional, like a gentleman.
Do you think he comes back?
I do. Again, same thing. I don't think you can leave that taste in the mouth. And he does. I don't think the Triple Crown thing is just lip service from him. He's a 2-time world champion. He's won Monaco. He's won Le Mans. But I do think that he really, really wants to be the guy that wins the Triple Crown. And brings light to that again. And he's kind of the guy that paves the way, right, for we're celebrating 50 years of Mario Andretti, right? And Mario winning the Indianapolis 500, and that's great accomplishment. But what Mario is known for, what makes Mario special, is that he won everywhere in everything he did. He won a Formula One World Championship. He won at Daytona, and that's what Fernando Alonso. He's trying to bring that legacy back a little bit, and I think the drivers around here love that, and I think more drivers want to do that. So hopefully we see that again soon.
Okay, well, just to let you know, we're going to have a few more guests come in. Mark Miles will drop in. Doug Bowles will come in at 10:45, and right now we have IndyStar sports columnist Greg Doyle, who has written some pretty strong stuff this week, as always. And including one about the Andretti curse. Just come walk right in front of me and take the mic from me. Greg, go ahead.
Greg, good morning.
Real nice outfit we got running here. Just go ahead and take the mic. Walk in front and take the mic, Greg.
This is a professional show we're running. If you can't tell by now, this is it. It's me every time I say, "What are we doing? We're going to commercial." Oh, okay, yeah. So how you doing this morning, Greg?
So far, so good. The drive-in was great. And the weather report is better than I thought. I don't know if we're gonna have this race or not. But last night there was no chance.
Right.
Today there's a chance.
Yeah.
A pretty good chance.
I don't want to come back Monday. And like I said, I feel like it'll take away from the thing a little bit. I like the 300,000 people here. Everyone's here for this. Let's get it in. Let's get this whole thing in. Get it done. I don't know. How would you feel like coming back tomorrow?
I would hate it. I don't want to be back here tomorrow. Are you kidding me? Let's please. The worst thing that can happen though is we sit around and wait until 5,
right?
And then they call it. Call this thing. And by the way, if it goes 101 laps, 101, it's over.
Done.
Call it. Even if it's not raining yet, it's over.
All right, so one of the biggest storylines we were just talking about right before you came on here was Mario Andretti. It's the 50th year of his Indianapolis 500 victory, 50th anniversary, I should say, of his Indianapolis 500 victory. No Andretti has won since, despite many, many trying and many, many, many close calls. But I loved what he said to you about there is no Andretti curse, and maybe you can be the guy who finally puts an end to this storyline because he really hates it.
He does hate it, and I did a terrible job of putting it into it, right? I mean, I did a terrible job because as beer cans
we got beer
falling,
cans falling down. This is a classic Indianapolis 500.
Cascading down. I did a terrible job because the more he talked, the more he said. He would say things like, yeah, weird stuff kept happening, and he wasn't helping.
No.
Mario, you're not helping. And actually, I just saw broken down his racing record here in 29 years.
Yeah.
He only finished 8 times. Didn't even finish 21 out of 29 times. But if he finished, he was in the top 8.
Yeah.
And more times than not in the top 4. So if his car could just make it across the finish line, he might have won.
Yeah.
But he just couldn't get there.
When I talked to him about a month ago now, I said, how many should you have had? And he said, if it was 150 miles, he might have had 5 wins, maybe 6 wins. But it's just one of those things. He kept coming up short. Like you said, the car just kept falling apart on him. Obviously, in 69, it didn't fall apart on him. He had a great run, and that was it's weird because that was the one he wasn't supposed to win, right? It was like he had the backup car. It wasn't.
Right.
It was not the one he was supposed to win, and he ended up finding it. But so yeah. So at the end of the day, though, Andretti curse, are you a believer or not? Yourself?
No, I don't. I'm not superstitious. I don't believe in bad things happening. You got any wood? knock on that wooden shoulder of his. I don't believe in bad things happening. No, it's all nonsense. But at the same time, we all need a reason for why things are happening, and folks like to. I mean, that's a great reason. And I promise you this: if Marco Andretti runs out of gas 14 feet from the finish line, the words Andretti curse will be in my story tomorrow. We're going to kill this video. We're going to delete it because it never happened. But until that event happens later today, there's no curse.
You've known the Andretti curse. You've been in this town for a long time. You understand. What would Marco Andretti win mean? Do you think in Indianapolis and to Mario? I know you talked to him about it.
Tomorrow would mean a lot. Obviously, I mean it'd be everything. The thing about Marco, I've been here just long enough to realize that. I'll say it. People don't seem to like Marco. They don't seem to like him. This is not me saying I don't like him. I don't know him. People don't seem to like him. Like Mario, we loved Mario.
Yes.
I still love Mario. Michael was a little bit different, and Marco is a little bit different too, without any results at all to show for being different. So Marco winning would be an Andretti won. I mean, I tell you what, it's one of those deals that from afar it'd be a really big deal.
Okay.
But from around here, I think people would be kind of looking ahead to 2020 already. Like, oh, Marco won. What's going to happen in 2020? And again, this is not me saying I feel this way. You know what I'm talking about.
I know what you mean. Yeah.
He's just not loved. It doesn't help that your grandfather is the most beloved guy in racing.
He knows it. I talked to Marco about this before. He's more of a quiet guy. He's more of a reserved guy, and he knows it can come across as rubbing the people. It can rub people the wrong way sometimes.
Oh, he'll say that?
He'll say that.
Okay.
He admits it. He understands it.
And what does Michael say about himself?
Michael, you know what Marco says? Marco says he's his father's son.
Okay.
So he says he understands it.
So don't get mad at me. Don't be tweeting me. Don't be emailing me.
No, he gets it. It's a legacy thing. I mean, when you are the grandson of possibly the greatest driver of all time, you do. People do look at you differently.
Can we talk about today's race so I can tell you who's going to win?
Yeah, I was going to say I was going to have a really good segue for you, which was going to say what is the most, who would be the best winner, or who do you think is going to win?
Answer is the same. Ed Carpenter.
I knew it.
And I shouldn't be, but I am. I get to be a fan at times. I like Ed a lot. I like him a lot.
You can't help it. He's a great guy.
Everybody likes him a lot, but also the Butler connection. He's local. I want him to win. But he's also really good here. He's qualified in the top 5 of the last 7 years. I mean, that's nuts. Last year finished second.
Yep.
I mean, he's good. He doesn't race full-time schedule, and I'm sure he'd be pretty good everywhere else. But for whatever reason, this track, he's good.
Yeah.
It's not a matter of time because time's running out. He's getting to that age where you don't have any more shots.
Yeah.
So it might even be this year or bust. I don't know, but he's really good here, and until someone beats him, he's my guy.
I love the storyline for him though, because he grew up here. His family is here. He grew up in Indiana. I think everyone wants to win this race, and I don't know if it's possible to have more desire than somebody else. But if it is, I think Ed might have it for this race.
Yeah, right. Everybody wants it, but somebody's got to want it more. They're not all even. You rank them 1 through 40, who wants it, or 1 through 33, and I would say Ed's one. I'd say he's one. But if it's not Ed, it'll be Joseph Newgarden. I know he's leading the series in points. Just seems like he's going kind of under the radar for whatever, right?
Yeah, no, for sure.
Having a great year, another great year, and if it's not going to be Ed, I got Joseph.
Matt and I were talking about this just before. I mean, he seems to be, maybe he needs that 500 to kind of take him to that next level, that 500 victory, because
he does.
He won the IndyCar championship, but that didn't seem to kind of elevate him in the way that I think maybe some people thought, because he is that young, charismatic, charming, good-looking guy that you think would be a really great face of the series, but maybe it is the 500 victory is that thing that takes him to that level.
Yeah, I think the best thing for the series might be him. It might be Ed Carpenter would be the best thing for the series. And I don't think it's Marco for what we talked about earlier, but it might be Newgarden, because Newgarden is, I don't know how much this sport can cross over. And if you're walking around here right now, you know what I'm talking about. I don't know how much crossover there is. But if there is, Newgarden's the guy. I mean, he's young and hip, and he's on Instagram, and he's cool and he's fast as he can be, and a great guy. So he'd be great for this series if he could win the thing.
What do you think about Hinchcliffe? I know you got a chance about a win for him, and then I know you got a chance to talk to him earlier this month about a story that was special to him.
Okay, Hinch is another guy that if he won, because of the Dancing with the Stars and all that, and he's another great guy. What I think about Hinch is that I'm bigger than Hinch. And I can't say that about a lot of athletes, pro athletes. I guess out here I probably could. But
yeah, there's a few of them, yeah.
A few of them out here, but I got to spend some time with them to talk about a fan who, like Hinch, had her life saved at IU Health, and so she's got a bond with Hinch, and Hinch from afar feels that bond. He feels that bond from a lot of fans and really appreciates it. So he's a great guy. I mean, some ambassadors are you're kind of forced into it whether you want to be or not.
Right.
He is the right guy to be that winner. He's the right guy. I mean, Newgarden's charismatic and all that. Hinch might be the right guy, though.
Well, considering the story he had of getting bumped last year, of nearly dying on this track a few years ago, and then winning the pole after that. I mean, I've talked to him before. He said, the only thing I haven't done here is won. That's it. That's the last thing he's got to do. But, yeah, so the other thing I wanted to ask you about was another story you wrote, and a big storyline for this race is the absence of a certain Formula One superstar that is not here.
Oh.
What did you see on Sunday that led you to believe that that team just wasn't ready to compete for this Sunday?
Yeah, it was a comedy of errors. I mean, they knew their car had issues. They put it on the track, and it looks like some 16-year-old's driving a Pinto with his muffler hanging down behind him, just shooting sparks behind him. And so they brought the car back in. They fixed it, ran back on the track, and it damn near happened again.
Yeah, it did. It happened a second time.
And that really underscores, McLaren. McLaren big name and has done some things over the years, but then again, so did the Brooklyn Dodgers, right? McLaren has let down Alonso.
I agree.
I mean, he's a great driver, and they've let him down overseas. They let him down here. And when I was watching Alonso and Hinch, because both those guys were in the shootout to get in, the slow 9 shootout or whatever to get in, the slow 6, Hinch's car was ready, like hours before they went on the track. He was ready. His crew, they were eating pizza. They were ready. I watched them eat pizza right over there. I wanted a piece. They'd thrown it away. I'd have grabbed it. They didn't. So, but in Alonso's garage, there must have been 9 people working on that feverishly, working on that car till the very, very end. And he didn't deserve it. Maybe he deserved it, but they deserved what they got. They deserved to have Kyle Kaiser cruelly take that last spot from them. They deserved that. And McLaren, wake your rear end up or get out.
That's what I think. I was telling Matt. I think if they're gonna come back and do this, because I think they have to. How can you leave that taste in? How can you leave that taste in the mouth of all your McLaren fans that we came to Indy and failed? That can't be the last.
Does
thing
Charlie Brown have to kick the football again? We all know what's going to happen, McLaren.
You think if they came back, it would be the same comedy of errors? Maybe.
They had a track record of greatness, and now they've got a track record of boobery. So until they show me something besides boobery, they're a bunch of boobs.
Do you think Fernando Alonso then should try to align himself with somebody else? Because I assume you want to see Fernando Alonso back here in Indianapolis.
I'd like to.
Maybe with a different team.
I'd like to. I realize after watching what happened, and granted he was disappointed and all that, but he was a little bit more petulant.
Okay.
And granted, one of the worst moments of his career happened, and I was right there on the elevator with him after it happened. A little bit petulant, a little bit angry. You know what? If the judges will throw out the worst score of the gymnast from Czechoslovakia at the Olympics, if people would kindly throw out my worst score ever, I'll throw out his worst score.
That's fair.
Great guy. I'd like to see him back. I'd like to see him. There's a lot of guys I'd like to see win. I want them all to win. I'm like Dick Vitale. You should all be in the tournament. We should have a 300-team NCAA tournament. You're all in. Who? Hinch, Newgarden, Carpenter, Alonso, and I'm sure I've left out 19 guys.
The only one, you're not Marco is the only one that we've talked about that you.
That's what everybody else says. Me, I'm neutral.
I'm trying to think if there anybody else that you'd like to see win, but
I'd like to see Graham Rahal win. He's a little bit prickly. I mean, he's
honest. I like that about him.
Great word. He's a guy that if you need somebody to address a topic,
agreed.
He's the guy you go to because he'll address it.
Yeah.
So and he'd be good for the circuit too. He wouldn't be as good as a couple of the other ones, but he'd be on that next tier of guys that you'd really help, Graham, if you'd win this thing. And he's going to win it someday.
I like, Graham last year made a point of talking to me after Will Power won. He made a point, I should say, of going out on track and congratulating Will Power. And then when I called him and said, why did you do that? He said, Will's been working at it for 10 years. And that's all he's ever wanted to try to complete this. And I thought it was a big thing for him and for Alexander Rossi, and I can't remember, there was another driver out there, to walk out and congratulate.
Sato, I think.
Yeah, that could be it. I think that's right. They went out. Casado and Will Power are pretty good friends too. But I thought that was a cool thing. And we did a story on IndyStar.com about, who are these guys cheering for in the paddock? If they're not going to win, who do they want to see? And I thought that was a good character moment for Will, or for Graham Rahal, for sure.
How much time do we have left?
Got a few minutes. Go ahead.
Well, this is going to be a drop the mic moment, but
do it.
Who is the one guy in that story who said, I'm rooting for myself?
Marco Andretti.
Bye.
Thanks, Greg.
Everyone, Greg Doyle. I promise I won't say boobery or boobs.
You can say boobery.
I can say boobery?
You just did 3 times now.
I said it twice.
Between us, yeah.
Okay. But no, it's Greg Doyle, folks. Clark is saying something, but so yeah. I don't know how you
follow. How do you
follow.
I was just going to say, how are you supposed to follow that?
All right, well, let's talk about Hinchcliffe. He mentioned Hinchcliffe. You mentioned Hinchcliffe. We haven't really talked too much about Hinchcliffe. How much of he's my mother-in-law's favorite driver because of Dancing with the Stars.
Yeah.
So she's watching, I'm sure of it. So, yeah. Hi, Karen. But yeah, James Hinchcliffe, Dancing with the Stars. What happened here, what was it, 3 years ago, 4 years ago?
4 years ago.
4 years ago.
2015.
Where he almost died.
Yeah, he did.
I mean, he almost died on this track. To come back here, to go through not qualifying last year, to have to go through bump day this year.
Yep.
So he's down there at 32nd. James Hinchcliffe is a really good driver.
Yes.
So what does he have to do to win this race? And what would it mean to have someone like that, someone who's so affable, someone who's, you said Newgarden's kind of an introvert, whereas Hinchcliffe is, whatever you need.
He's out there.
You want me to do stand-up, I'll do stand-up kind of guy.
Well, he's like, I think to me, the honest moment, and I hate to bring this up because he's had so many other better moments in his career, but when we were at Alabama last year at Barber, and there's a rain delay, and the worst thing for live TV is a rain delay, and he gets out of his car and tells Kevin Lee of NBC Sports, I peed my pants. And I have to go change. And it's just that ended up blowing up. And
but aren't those things, they're fireproof, but aren't they, like, absorbent, those suits? Like, does he really have to change?
I think just for comfort's sake and for not...
Comfort, it's absorbed. It's in there.
For not ickiness, I guess. I don't know. But I just thought, again, the guy understands what it means to put on a show. And he's a great ambassador for IndyCar, not because he pees his pants, because he does so many other things for IndyCar. But again...
It's cool to pee pants.
It's Miles Davis.
Yeah.
He's absolutely right.
Billy Madison reference.
I think, and the storyline... The show is not going south. We're doing just fine.
It's about to pick up. We're about to have Mark Miles and Doug Bowles. Now we're just filling time.
The storyline for him is incredible. I wrote a story about him at the beginning of the year. Connor Daly gave me some great quotes on him just to say that he's a Netflix special waiting to happen. He's a superhero because the guy almost dies on track here. He comes back and wins the pole. He comes back again and misses the show. Then he almost misses the show this year. And as I was telling Greg, Hinchcliffe told me, he said, the only thing I have left to do here is win. I've done everything else. This track has treated me so poorly. He's tried to kill him. He's tried to do all the things that you never want to see happen to a driver, and yet he keeps coming back. And so he said maybe he's got a couple screws loose in his head. Maybe, but he keeps coming back, and a win for him here. I mean, I don't want to say he could mic drop like Greg Doyle just did, but that'd be a pretty good way to go out. I know he won't. He'll come back and keep racing, but the story for him would just be incredible. I can't even imagine trying to write it and put it into words because it would just be... I mean, what would you even say? I mean, and who would say it better than James Hinchcliffe? He'd be crying in the car, I'm sure. It would just be an amazing emotional moment where all the things that he's been through, all the things that he's seen. I mean, Sam Schmidt is his team owner, and he has been through so much himself and has become such a prominent team owner around here and overcome so much.
And then to see what's happened to Robert Wickens as well. To have Sam as that kind of resource of someone who's had such a devastating accident where you're not sure if you're going to walk again. I mean, to see what Robert Wickens has been able to do this past year is really, really
They're the
impressive.
most resilient team, I think, in IndyCar history at this point between what they've dealt with these three guys, and it's been incredible to watch. So, again, they have to be a fan favorite team. And I should mention, I talked to Hinch about his hero, his all-time hero is Greg Moore, the Canadian racing driver who died in a race car. I mean, the guy, his heroes, his team owners, his best friends, they've all been through such pain and disappointment, and yet they keep coming back, and he keeps coming back and bouncing back, and so, yeah, for him to win an Indianapolis 500 would just be an incredible, incredible emotional story.
All right, let's talk about what's new this year at the Indianapolis 500 is that it's being broadcast by NBC.
Yeah.
That's a big deal. That is a big deal. You wrote about it. You went behind the scenes when they were broadcasting the Grand Prix.
Yeah.
Did you say Grand Prix or Grand Prix?
I say Grand Prix because I'm from
Grand
America.
Prix? Yeah, but then isn't it Grand Prix?
Good point.
If you're American, so just go all the way with it. Grand Prix. So you went behind the scenes with NBC.
The GP.
Yes. They've got Dale Earnhardt on the call. They've got Danica Patrick. So they've got some star
Mike
power.
Tirico, yeah.
Mike Tirico, exactly. So what can viewers expect differently? And how, I mean, if you watch the Stanley Cup playoffs, you're seeing it all, they're putting it in your face.
Constantly.
If you watch the Kentucky Derby, they're putting it in your face.
8 different spots during the Kentucky Derby.
So, I mean, they're definitely putting resources behind it. They've got it, and they want it to succeed, which seems like smart business to me. But can you just talk about what NBC has done for this race?
Well, to me, it starts with the fact that NBC said, no more of this split broadcast for IndyCar where some is on ABC, some is on NBC. We want all of IndyCar. We want the Indianapolis 500, and we're going to promote the heck out of the sport and the race and use both to promote each other. And I think it was so important to get exclusive broadcasting rights. That way they could start promoting this thing back in April and February. They started doing it in January, actually, during the NFL playoffs, during the Bears-Eagles game that broke our hearts.
About the Bears-Eagles game.
Anyway, back to racing. No, they've been promoting the heck out of it throughout the Kentucky Derby, and they've brought in as many big names and personalities. I mean, Matt Damon and Christian Bale are here.
That's a big one. Christian Bale looked really happy to be here yesterday.
You being sarcastic?
I'm being sarcastic.
Okay, I didn't see it. I'm
told he's not the nicest person in real life. I remember that audio clip of him filming Terminator.
I remember.
Do you remember that? Yeah.
Yeah.
Matt Damon is Matt Damon.
Matt Damon also has had some trouble behind the scenes, but we'll talk about that later. We don't need to do this now.
No.
No, but I said they've brought some huge star power here. They've been promoting it. They've got over 140 cameras. They got 200 and some staffed employees.
Tom Hanks and the Today Show was here.
The Today Show
that's
was here
putting your product in front of a whole new audience. That who watches the Today Show, not me, my wife. I don't watch it.
No, I agree. I don't watch it either, but it was a great audience to put in. And they had the Sheryl Crow concert, and she got to perform. I guess it was a great way to try to cross-promote on your different. And that's what they've done. They had, I think Alexander Rossi was on Jimmy Fallon. Like, they've done all the things they can try to do to cross-promote this thing, to use the power that comes with being an NBC, a Comcast. So is it a subsidiary? I'm not even sure what the word is. But they've done all those things that they can do to try to promote this race. And so if the TV rating does fall from last year, the overnight was a pretty low 3.4 last year. And if it falls, I got to tell you, it's not from lack of effort from NBC. They've done all they can to promote the heck out of this thing. And I know Indianapolis locally, we won't get to see it, at least until later tonight.
I hate that.
The blackout is you want to go on that because you're in Indianapolis? You've been in Indianapolis longer than I have.
No, I just don't understand it. I don't understand why someone's got to drive 3 hours out of the way if they want to watch it live.
I don't get it either.
I mean, there's 300,000 people here. That's enough. How many of those 300,000 wouldn't come if they could watch it on TV?
I don't know. I don't understand it either.
I mean, my thing is, if it rains today and there's no race, do they black it out tomorrow? They probably black it out tomorrow because it's Memorial Day. But if it rains on Monday and it's on Tuesday, do you black it out on Tuesday? Because half the people can't come back on Tuesday, so then they're not watching the race. So I think you want, if you're locally, it is a task to come to the Indianapolis 500.
It is.
You have to get up at 5 in the morning, 6 in the morning. And if you've got little kids, it's a long day sitting out in the sun. But don't you want those little kids who live in Indianapolis to love the Indianapolis 500?
Right.
Let them watch it at home. Because if it starts at 7 o'clock, chances are they're going to sleep at 9, 8:30. So just let them watch the race.
I like how you're passionate you are about this.
I would like to watch I get to watch the race because I'm here. But my wife at home doesn't get to watch the race.
I know.
My in-laws don't get to watch the race.
Well, honestly, to be honest, it encourages doing things that are below, that are maybe not so legal. It encourages some illegal streaming.
You got a bootleg.
That's what I'm saying, and I don't like that either. I don't like. Greg Doyle wrote a very good article a couple of years ago about lifting the blackout. They did it when they had the sellout here a few years ago. I think they should do it again, but they don't ask. Again, these are more things Mark Miles doesn't ask me, unfortunately.
Well, if you want a weather update, and I know you do want a weather update.
Yeah, hit me.
I have just checked the radar, and the rain is now not supposed to come until 2:45.
Okay.
That means we get the race in. Now, not maybe
the whole race, but yeah.
But we get 101 laps in. So, and it looks beautiful right now.
I was gonna say, the weather is pretty nice.
I mean, it's starting to warm up. I'm getting a little...
You getting a little toasty?
Yeah.
Hey, I'm the one wearing the sport coat.
Yeah, but you're fully under the tent. I'm getting sun from the backside here.
I see.
If Nat Newell wants to stand this way and block the sun for me like he's blocking the yellow shirts from crossing our video screen, that'd be great. But he's not moving, so...
I hope... No, I hope the weather keeps moving back a little bit further back, and like we talked about, maybe the rain just comes right after the wind, after the winter crosses the yard of bricks, and the rain comes, and at least we got the whole thing, and it would ruin the celebration a little bit, but
it means Buddy Rice wouldn't win the race. Is that still a sore subject for some people?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think some people are still upset about it. There's a lot of people sore about it. I mean, hey, talked to Mario about 81 recently. That one hurts.
Still has the ring.
And
you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean,
that's a great story.
Dana Benbow did a great job with that story, talking to Bobby Unser and to Mario Andretti. And I mean, it was a race that for 40 years really, I don't want to say ruined their friendship, but it put it on the rocks. They didn't talk to each other much, and these guys were best friends throughout their racing careers. They traveled together, pulled pranks on each other. I have a story up on IndyStar.com right now with the 15 best stories about Mario Andretti you've never heard. There's a great story about Bobby Unser talking about pushing Mario on a snowmobile down a hill with the engine cut, which is really, really funny. But these guys, they hung out all the time, and then to have 81 kind of divide them after Bobby Unser passed a bunch of guys on a restart that he probably wasn't supposed to. They ruled it illegal, named Mario the winner, and then Mario, it was lawyers and all kinds of stuff, and a year later, essentially, and they ended up naming Bobby Unser the winner, and Mario's been upset about it ever since. Not so much upset with Bobby. I think just upset that through the whole process, and always kind of wanted Bobby to admit that he kind of took it from him.
He said he threw the ring out a window once, and then decided
he threw the ring out the window once because he was so upset, and then he went and he said he looked for it for weeks later, digging through his own lawn trying to find it, and he finally did. He still wears it. When I was out in Nazareth with him, he had it on. He was proudly had it on. He was showing the photographer. I mean, to him, it's an Indy 500 win. So a lot of this 50th anniversary stuff for him, that's not his. He won in 81.
Well, you talked about you going out to Nazareth to go visit with him, and you didn't go out there just to have pizza and drink wine.
I would have.
You went out there to take him to a place that really doesn't have great memories for him, the Nazareth Speedway, which is now almost a graveyard.
Yeah, it's overrun with weeds, and there's graffiti and dirt and grime, and I mean the night before I got there's a couple of kids that started a fire and burned down one of the buildings in there. A couple of geniuses that they are.
That's good timing. Were you out there with your iPhone taking camera?
No. We didn't align our plans.
Spot news.
But they did. They posted on Instagram, so they were caught relatively quickly after that because they're a couple of smart kids. But anyway, no, Mario and I went out there, and yeah, it was tough for him. I thought maybe we'd go out there and it would bring back some of the good memories. It's the very first racetrack that he ever raced on with his brother Aldo. It's the first time he ever heard race cars in America. I mean, it's an incredible story to hear these immigrants that came over from Italy after a lot of struggling in Italy after the war, and to hear race cars and to know that you can make your dream possible. And that's a place that he holds very dear at his heart. He won there multiple times in IndyCar and all different on the dirt. I mean, Michael won there. And then to have him come back there, he just was so it hurt so much to see it the way it was. So at the end of the day, I asked him. I said, "What?" I felt like I dragged you there. I felt like I brought you there against your will. And he said, "Yeah, it's not a place that has happy memories for anymore. It's kind of been ruined. It's only a couple miles away from his house. Nazareth's it's a cute little town. I like it, and they have it does very well. But it's one of those things where I think it's an eyesore. They drive by it, they see it, and it's a painful reminder of what it's become." And I think the happy memory, he'll still have happy memories there forever, but it's hard for him to look at. And so it was a fascinating story to spend that time with him, and I thank him for it because it was an incredible 6 hours.
Just incredible story. It's on IndyStar.com right now. You can go read it.
No, but he was he was very forthcoming, always honest. I mean, Mario. Yep. The best thing about Mario is that he could talk for 6 hours and you never be bored. I mean, he's got a million great stories to share, and I was thankful that he shared them with me. I'm sorry I took him to a place that hurt him, but it was interesting to see that side of Mario Andretti for sure.
All right. Well, we've talked about almost all 33 drivers. Not all of them, though.
No.
It seems like the one we're ignoring is the pole sitter, Simon Pagenaud.
Yeah.
I mean, and he won the Indianapolis Grand Prix earlier this month.
Which is funny that we're ignoring him since that was the problem before, right? Because he said, "I'm still here." People have forgotten.
So he's sitting on the pole, and if he wins, Norman Pagenaud is going to be a star.
Norman Pagenaud already is a star.
You think so?
I think so. It's a cute little dog.
He's an adorable little dog, but the picture of him on the car with the Borg Warner on Monday would be...
Yeah, that'd be great.
That'd be gold.
As long as he doesn't, pee on the track or anything like that.
He doesn't pee on the track.
He's a well-trained dog.
He's
right.
very well-trained.
I'm sorry.
Dog.
I don't
He's
mean
a little Jack
Sorry,
Russell.
Norman, if you're watching.
But let's talk about Simon Pagenaud.
Yeah.
Is it Simone or Simon?
It's Simon Pagenaud, and he is...
But he's French. It should be Simone.
You tell him that. I think he likes the little Americanized version of it. I think he likes to make it easier on people.
He doesn't want people to think he's the driver from Talladega Nights?
He does a great impression
I know.
of that.
I've heard it.
It's pretty good. He does really good impressions. Oh,
all right. Well,
yeah,
I'm getting out of here because the most important person, or the busiest person in the Midwest is here. He is IMS track president, Doug Bowles. He's taking a picture with someone. That's how awesome Doug Bowles is. He's taking pictures with people.
Thank you.
I will.
Good morning.
If Mark gets here, I can bail.
Okay. No, it's no rush.
Sorry I was late.
No worries. All right, Doug. Well, how's your morning been so far?
It's been a good.
Just kicking back and relaxing,
it's
right?
been a good 36 hours or so. I slept for about an hour last night, which is the first time in 3 years I've actually slept. And I didn't mean to. I went back to the bus, sat down, and the next thing I know, I was waking up. So, but I got about an hour and 15 minutes. It's been good so far. The prediction of all the rain that we were going to get early, obviously not there. So I'm hoping that means they're not going to be right on later this afternoon. We get this race in.
I was going to say, you could put the meteorologist hat on. What are you thinking for this afternoon?
I'm still saying everybody better get here because we're going to run this race, and we're certainly going to get through pre-race and get the thing started, I think. So that's the good news. But I feel pretty good about it. And I felt pretty good all week. Indiana weather, just does weird stuff to us.
I know. I was telling these guys, I didn't look at it until Friday or Saturday because what's even the point? It changes so much. I just decided, we'll figure it out then.
Yep. And people ask, the beginning of the week when you see the long-term forecast, what are you going to do if it does this? You can't even speculate because you don't know what it's going to do. And you want to make sure that when you tell people what's going on, it's in the moment and they don't have something in their mind they heard 5 days ago that's not relevant to what's happening in that situation at hand.
Well, we've talked about this before. I mean, you said that the sales for in terms of ticket sales for this race, they were pretty even to last year. So in terms of if it was going to be a bigger crowd than last year, it was going to depend on walk-up.
It was.
What are we thinking going today?
So I think we're going to have a good day to be right on target. So we'll see how it goes the last few days. That 5-day forecast is really when I start thinking about walk-up. So for 3 of our 4 days, we were down from where we were 2018. Not a lot, but so in terms of the eye, you're going to look at it, it's going to feel exactly like last year. For us, we're going to be between 500 up and 500 down. It's going to be right in that space, and a lot of it's going to depend on what happens this morning.
Okay, I want to ask you about your day. Zach Kiefer did a cool feature on you a few years ago.
Yep.
Just trying to following you around what a day in the life of Doug Bowles is like. But so where are you going to be watching the race today? What's your day going to be like?
So most of my day will be in the grandstands.
Okay.
So what I really try and do is I get the pleasure of driving the lead event car for the first 2 laps as the cars are out. Have Justin Gatlin, the U.S. sprinter, will be in the car with me, which will be cool. We'll park inside turn 1, get out and run as fast as we can to the fence, and we'll watch the start from standing through the fence. We can barely see anything.
Okay.
And then I'll get Justin back to where he needs to go, and then I'll start walking through the grandstands. My favorite thing to do is talk to fans, and then available to help the team if we got issues. So that's really what I do, and it's the only way you really know how to make the experience better is if you're really out doing it with the fans.
Do you get a chance to sit down and actually watch the race at all at any point during the race? Or stand? You have to stand.
Yeah, I'll stand. And I try by the last 10 to 20 laps to be in the plaza.
Okay.
So I'll watch it with fans in the plaza on the back of the pagoda. So I'll watch those few, last few laps from there. So that's probably the only time I really get to watch it. I do try, like I said, and watch the start, a couple laps, make sure they get through it okay. I worry about Connor a little more than everybody else just because I have that connection to him. And
sure.
Once we get a couple laps under our belt and things settle in, then I'll be in the grandstands.
Yeah, so can you provide a little insight into the psyche of a Connor Daly this morning? How's he feeling?
I've not talked to him this morning. I assume he feels fine. We got a call last night about 10:30. He was in his bus and wondered if we had any snacks in ours. So Beth and I went to Kroger, shopping at Kroger at 11 o'clock last night for some race car driver snacks, and but he seemed really relaxed and excited last night. He's been excited all month. The Andretti program for him has been the best program he's had so far, and really happy with that. He loves representing the Air Force. That's clearly fits right in his wheel well. So that's a good one.
We've talked about this before. Actually, we were talking about it right before you came on. What did you think of the job NBC has done in terms of trying to promote this race?
NBC has done an unbelievable job. They promised Mark Miles, when Mark did the deal, they promised Mark that they would do a good job, and I think even Mark believes that they've gone above and beyond what they promised that they do. It's all over the country, all their national broadcasts. They have all of their top talent here. They brought everybody in. In fact, I got to see Dale Jr. on the grid just a minute ago. He said, just let me tell you, this is the coolest thing I've ever done.
That's awesome.
Well, for a guy who's grown up in racing his whole life, for him to just say that, and that's why I was excited about having him, because there isn't anything like this. When Kurt Busch ran a few years ago, I kept telling him, and I didn't get to see him when he left the race to go to Charlotte, and then when he got back, he said, hey, it's the coolest thing I've ever done. And really, in a lot of ways, if you're a race fan, to do Monaco, the Indy 500, and Charlotte all in the same day, it's a pretty good day.
I like to ask you this question every year because I love the way you talk about it. Favorite moment of the pre-race for you? It is. It's my favorite.
Well, all the pre-race, those 30 minutes are definitely important, but it's the 90 seconds of back home again in Indiana. And for me, I just reflect on the first time my dad brought me here, but I really reflect on what it means to be a Hoosier. And what's even more powerful than that is everybody in this venue, whether you're from Indiana or not, for those 90 seconds, they're Hoosiers. And it is a way that we can just show that Hoosier pride and just the way we are on an international stage. And those 90 seconds are absolutely the best 90 seconds of the year. And in fact, in a lot of ways, I'm crying because I'm so emotional about it. I'm crying because it's over too, right? It's like I got to wait another year to do this.
And to hear Jim Cornelison, who it seems to have been folded into the fabric of this race.
So the first time Jim sang was in 2017. And his mom passed away, and he's from Seattle, so he had to do her memorial service on Saturday. And we were worried that he might not get back, so he got here like 1 o'clock in the morning on Saturday, so he didn't get to do anything but race day. I talked to him yesterday about it, and he said it was a whirlwind. Last year he came on Thursday, spent the whole weekend, loved it, embraced it. He showed up on Wednesday this year. He's been through the whole thing. He does the parade. He's fallen in love with what this event means to the people that are here, but really on Memorial Day weekend, how powerful it is. So what I like about Jim is he's just embraced it the way that Jim Neighbors did. And that's why we love Jim Neighbors, because he knew what this event meant and what those 90 seconds mean to everybody that's in this venue.
So what kind of, obviously you have I want to ask you, you got the racing side. I know you're not getting a chance to watch much, but you got to watch practice, got to watch qualifying. First of all, what did you think of the way qualifying unfolded, and what do you think we're going to see here today?
So qualifying was unbelievably drama-filled both days. I just got a chance to see Ricardo Juncos on the way to come to see you.
He had a day.
And to get a hug from him and just see how excited he is. And for just, it's the David versus Goliath story. It's pretty exciting for him. I'm a little bummed out that Fernando didn't make it, because I think from an international standpoint it would have been really nice to have him here.
For sure.
What I really like about it, though, is the team went back to England and told the folks in McLaren and said, you've never been through anything in your life like we just went through. There is nothing like that emotional roller coaster that Indianapolis means. And for whatever my small vote is, we got to keep that 33 cars, and that's really what makes it so powerful. So I thought it turned out really, really cool. It was a great story for Kyle Kaiser, and the drama was even having Hinch have to wait
I
another
know.
day. And I feel sorry for him because he's one of our favorites, right? But to have him have to go just shows you how hard it is to make the Indy 500.
Do you think, I know there's been so much debate about the locked-in 33, but do you think what happened this weekend will maybe keep things the way they are? Because, I was talking to drivers who were locked in the field, guys like Connor Daly and Tony Kanaan who were in the field safely, and they said that was the most tense moment. That Sunday was so tense for them, which I think is a great thing for the show.
It is a great thing for the show. It is a tense moment. But to be fair to the IndyCar series and the teams, they're more constituents than just us as fans, right?
Right.
And we love it as fans. But you do have to sit down, step away, and look at it from a big picture and decide what's the right thing to do. As the guy who promotes the event and loves to get fans out here, I think from a fan standpoint, we want to leave it as it is. I understand if there's a bigger issue that tries to make the sport better, and we definitely need to have the conversation.
Yeah.
Whether it's we had some full-time guys that are on the outside, right? So does that make it an easier conversation to guarantee it, or a harder one because of the way it ended? I don't know, but it's going to be interesting over the next couple months.
For sure. So all right, let's talk about race. What are you expecting to see in terms of, last year? I know that some people complained there wasn't a lot of passing, but I still thought it was a quality race. We saw some really good action at the front, really some dramatic things at the end. What do you think we're going to see here today?
I think we're going to see a more competitive race than last year. Firestone's done some great work on the tires to help the drivers run a little bit closer together. Jay and the team at IndyCar have done a great job on the aero pieces. So I think it's going to be a little more competitive than it was last year. It's funny. We've had really from 2012 or so, we've had four or five of the most competitive races in our history. And including last year, if you look at the history of the Indy 500, that was an unbelievably competitive race. We're just comparing it to 3 or 4 years that were unreal.
Incredible.
In terms of the number of passes. So I'm hopeful that we got a few more this year, but I don't know that. Like you said, last year was great too. So I think we're in good space.
I've been remiss. I haven't mentioned it yet, and I just wanted to ask you about it because we haven't mentioned it this entire time. And talk about passing and talk about an incredible show. Did you get a chance to watch the Freedom 100?
I did get a chance to watch the Freedom 100, and in fact, I got a chance to go to the drivers' meeting. Tony Kottman asked me to go to the drivers' meeting and address the drivers. Yeah. And so I told him, I said, you guys, year in, year out, put on one of the best shows, not just here, but anywhere in terms of how close it is. And thank you for that. I said, just said, hey, just be safe, get yourself to the end, because no matter where you are, you could go into turn one and be seventh and end up winning the thing. And then when they went across the start-finish line, they sort of single file. I thought, man, we're going to have one of those races that it's just even coming out of 4.
Yeah.
And then to see the way they came, it was pretty impressive.
All right, so you got a busy rest of the day. I really appreciate you taking some time to stop by.
Yeah, sorry I was late again, but thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Thanks for doing this.
I think we all understand that you got a few other things to take care of. So thanks for stopping by. And
thanks, Jim.
Good luck the rest of the day, and try to enjoy some of the race a little bit.
All right, I will. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
All right, bye-bye.
Doug Bowles, president of IMS, and now IndyStar Pit Pass Live presented by Honda. We'll head to commercial. I had to look at my.
Thank you.
Thank you, Doug.
There's a challenging spirit within Honda. It gives us the courage to go faster and the thinking to make it real. Whether it looks like a truck, a sedan, or a coupe, inside is the heart of a race car.
Welcome back to IndyStar's Pit Pass Live, brought to you by Honda.
You did good. I actually had to look at the microphone for a second because I forgot. I'm an idiot.
You forgot it was
not presented by Honda. I knew that.
Oh,
I couldn't think of Pit Pass Live.
The name of the show.
It's been a long month.
The name of the show, we've only been doing this for 6 years. It is IndyStar's Pit Pass Live. All right, so the race is getting closer.
Yeah.
We're listening to the band. We can hear them play. What is your favorite? Now, you are busy beyond belief in this month of May. And you probably get to nice and relax after the race is a little bit. I mean, you got to go to Detroit, right?
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
But what is your favorite part about race weekend?
Race weekend. I don't actually. Is it weird to say yesterday was a calm and easy day where I could
All right,
kind of
so
just relax?
race day. How about race day? What is your favorite part
The
about
month is
race
no.
day?
I'm just kidding. I love.
He only gets paid to do this, folks. He gets paid to do this.
I liked taking a breath. That way you can come back and appreciate the whole thing. And the favorite part of race day, and I love doing this show. I think it kind of gets me going. It gets me jazzed for the whole thing. I love watching everybody behind us and the cars get fired up, and that's really exciting. I wish one day I will dream. Charlie Kimball just said the best thing in the world is walking with your team and your family and all the sponsors, everybody that supports you through Gasoline Alley right before. And I know I want to experience that one day because I think that's just incredible. But last year, and I hate to steal Doug Bowles' answer, but last year, it was the first time I actually got to stand outside and listen to Back Home Again in Indiana by Jim Cornelison, and I stood outside and listened to Kelly Clarkson belt out the Star Spangled Banner. And I'm just hearing that and then looking down the front straightaway and seeing, and then you look back the other way and you see, I mean, it's incredible the feel there's no other time in my life will I'll ever be surrounded by 300,000 people. It's insane.
Your wedding?
No, that's going to be a much smaller affair.
Much smaller affair.
I don't get paid those big of bucks to help 300,000 people, but
You're not paying for the wedding. It's her parents pay for the wedding. That's how it goes. Did someone forget to tell her that?
I was going to say we got to. No, I'm just kidding. Nah, they're being very generous in helping, but no, I guess I can never get over the fact that you look around and you see 300,000 people. It's never. I'll never get tired of it. I'll never get old. It's the most incredible thing. I don't know. How do you feel about it? I mean,
so I didn't grow up in Indiana.
Neither did
I'm
I.
not from race country. I'm from South Florida in Atlanta, and I tell people this is my favorite day of the year, every year. And I'm working it, and it's a long day. I get up at 5 a.m. I don't get home till 9 p.m. My favorite day of the year because I love seeing how much it means to everyone else. You get such a great appreciation for what these drivers are doing and what these teams have to do year in, year out. You see this, you're like, geez, and one small thing goes, and all that hard. I mean, this is a 12-month process for some of these teams. They only run this race. So I see that, and I just see how much it means to some people. I mean, we've had stories about one person who's been to 70 straight, another person who's been to 50 straight. One granddaughter who pushes her grandmother in a wheelchair all around Gasoline Alley because she doesn't want to miss anything.
That's
I mean,
amazing.
those are the stories that really resonate, and it's just a big deal. And I know nationally it's diminished a little bit in TV ratings wise, but I tell you, this event, there's nothing like it in the world. There's no place else where you can get 300,000 people to watch one sporting event. It's just fantastic. It's mind blowing.
I got to talk to Jim Voiles, who is a very prominent lawyer here in Indianapolis.
Yeah, I know Jim Voiles.
I think a lot of people do. You don't want to know him too
I
closely.
do not.
No one does.
But get a summons or anything.
Huge race fan, and one of my favorite things about when I talk to him is that guy he's got an incredible car collection. He's got connections to everybody in the paddock. That guy could sit anywhere he wanted. He's been invited into Tony George's suite. But that guy on race day, all he wants to do is be a Hoosier. All he wants to do is pack up his van or his SUV full of his family, and yet he's got 22 seats in Grandstand B, and he just wants to sit there, enjoy the race, and soak it all in, be folded into the part of the fabric of the race. And I love that not just him, but I love that's how everybody feels. That, or most people, I should say, they just want to be a part of the group and experience it as a whole. I don't think there's any more magical moments in sports when you're in a stadium and everyone is experiencing the same thing at the same time, and you feel like it's as a collective. It's just. Yeah, it really is. The mystique of this place is incredible.
All right, do you know what you're doing after this? We're putting a GoPro on you and sending you to the snake pit.
Oh, wonderful. I should probably change.
No, you'll fit it right in.
Oh, yeah, I was going to say, I don't think this is going to work.
What EDM band do they have this year?
Skrillex?
I guess, can you call them a band?
I don't know.
No, I don't know.
EDM is not my strength.
Not my strength either.
I heard Foreigner.
Connor Daly's EDM guy.
I was in the media center. I heard Foreigner. I heard Kool and the Gang.
You heard one original member of Foreigner who shows up 2 minutes for each song.
Dave Lindquist has got some thoughts on that. So that's interesting stuff. I heard Zach Brown Band was pretty good yesterday too. And then
did they got that in with the weather yesterday?
I believe that they did.
Okay.
Yes. Apparently, Dave was saying they played a cover of Enter Sandman, which I thought was Zach Brown Band playing Metallica.
They know their crowd.
Is something I would have been and Beastie Boys. Some interesting stuff.
Oh yeah, Clark Wade's yelling at me while you're talking about Enter Sandman.
Yeah.
Because that's his thing, actually. If you know Clark Wade, it's
no sign,
heavy metal.
Nothing subtle. Yeah,
heavy metal nonstop. Jeez. So we've got...
He's pointing at Mark Miles, I think. I don't know, Mark Miles might have got... He tends to get stopped by a lot of people.
All right, well, let's go with our picks real quick, because everyone wants to know who I picked. That's Alexander Rossi to finish first, Ed Jones to finish second, and Simon Pagenaud to finish third. And you can read about him on IndyStar.com or in the paper. Why I did that.
I was going to say, you don't want to say why?
No, okay, fine. Alexander Rossi. Why? In 2016 when he won. Yeah, 2016 when he won this race,
Mark's coming quickly.
Everyone thought it was lucky that he wasn't a real deserved winner. He won it by luck. But you know what? Last year he proved that it wasn't luck. It was no fluke. He can do this. He stole the show last year. He's got a good car. He hasn't finished outside the top 10 in his 3 starts at the Indy 500. I'm getting up because Mark Miles, who's much more important than I am, is going to take my seat. I got bumped.
Well, there is bumping at this track.
There is bumping at this track. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Are we sitting?
Yeah. You're having your coffee, so it can't be too hot outside.
You know, I'm sweating, but this is like my umbrella. It's a raincoat. I'm going to wear it until we're done. Probably.
I hope you don't need it.
Well, that's the idea. Keep it away.
So
Big day.
How's the morning been so far for you?
It's really been flawless.
Yeah?
Yeah. It's the traffic's backing up now. I think people started a little late, probably checking
waiting
the weather.
on the weather a little bit. Yeah.
But yeah, so far so good. People are safe. I took some friends around in a golf cart in the third turn of the infield.
Okay.
Those people, I just love them. I mean, they've got their shtick and they've set it up. And one guy has his own bar brand, and then he's making his own. He's got his own snake pit cocktail. And
oh, nice.
They're really having fun.
Did you try it?
I did not try it.
A little sip?
It looked like it would kill you.
So did you get a chance to we were just talking to Doug? He gets a chance to try to bounce around as much as he can.
That's
before
what,
is that what you're doing today?
Well, unless there's a problem, the best we can do is go around and support people and make sure everybody's having fun. So far so good.
One of the things I wanted to ask, obviously you were a massive part of orchestrating it, was NBC. I mean, this is the first time they're going to be doing broadcasting the Indianapolis 500 in the history of this race. From the outside perspective, it looks like they've done everything they can to make this thing one of their monster events, which they've done in the past with Kentucky Derby, the Masters. You know the list. What is your opinion of what they've done so far?
I've said this before. When you go through the deal-making process, you hear a lot of promises, and, a lot of aspirational talk, and you can't really write agreements that would lay out everything that would be obligated.
Right.
But in every respect, NBC has done more than they talked about doing. Or maybe they knew what they meant, but for me it's been over the top, just really high quality. It's really fun now personally. I had dinner last night with the president of NBC Sports and the president of programming, and all their corporate leaders are here. And for most of them it's their first, because they weren't visiting the opposition,
correct.
The competition's event. But they're stoked, and it'll be great for them to see the handiwork that they've knitted together for us.
I was going to ask that the cross promotion has been something I've been fascinated by. I mean, just having the Today Show out on Thursday, I think some of the drivers are on Jimmy Kimmel. I mean, the commitment to this has been, I think, like you said, above and beyond. But did you expect that level to have the Today Show out here on Thursday with Tom Hanks?
Not necessarily that specifically, but they have this concept of marketing that's an internal thing they call symphony. So there's a conductor, and they take all the parts of the platform, whether that's entertainment or news or late night, Today Show, other sports, and they have these meetings where they kind of go around the table and say, so what are you putting in?
Okay.
And there's kind of a formula, and it's working. So, yeah, we couldn't be more pleased by that.
I like asking people this. I feel like it's a corny question, but I don't care. I like asking, what is your favorite part of race day? What do you like to do? What's the part that kind of brings it all home for you?
I guess it's two things. The first thing is with the cannon going off, and you're here early. When you watch it come to life, it's pretty spectacular. All day long, the people are so kind to us as people who work here, and it just means so much to them. But then I have to say, for me, it's when it's over. I mean,
yeah, I get that feeling.
You just got to get through it and hope that nothing goes all the way off the rails, and it's a huge relief. Great athletes say it's true for sure, they hate to lose more than they like to win. For me, when a big event's over, it's just like, yes, now we can relax.
I experienced something similar, when covering a big event for sure. But
yeah.
I was going to say, so where are you going to be? What's during the race? Where are you going to be?
Well,
it's the routine. Do you have
a
routine?
I'm not sure I want to talk about. So, when I first started, Rocket, our chief mechanic, not my chief mechanic, head of officials, asked me where I was going to be at the start of the race. And I said, probably up in race control because you can see everything from there. He said, no, you're coming with me. Okay, Rocket, where are we going? The trench. Well, I think I know where the trench is. You mean out there touching the track? Yeah. I said, well, if I were to do that, do I need anything special? And I was thinking helmet, fire suit. He said, no, just an anatomical part. I won't mention. Oh, well, hell, now I got to do it. So I started doing that. It is the most thrilling. It's ridiculous to be doing it, but it is thrilling. And so, I'll be there for the start.
Okay.
And then we're bouncing back and forth between meeting we got an incredible, so the global head of Honda is here. Tokyo is here corporately.
Okay.
The head of NTT, the head of Bridgestone. We had breakfast with them 2 days ago. Everybody's here, so we'll thank them all for being here. Go by race control. And then we set up this new hospitality you need to come by. It's the Paddock Club, which you're familiar with.
Yeah, right.
expanded and improved.
Okay.
And it's right at the end of pit out.
Oh.
I mean, the end of the regular pits.
Okay.
Right on the pit out lane.
That'd be pretty cool.
So it is going to be cool. I feel like the pagoda's great, and the governor and everybody wants to be in there. I want to feel the race more.
Right.
So we're going to be in there, and there's some great Colts and some other fun people that'll be in there. Come by and check it out. And then it's mostly clear material, so you can see from there, and it's right at eye level. But we can also go up at the end of the Gasoline Alley suites, and those seats, which are high in turn one, are pretty good.
All right. I don't know if can I ask the question? Do you you can't be cheering for anybody, but have you picked a winner yet? Have you picked somebody that you think is having a pretty good month and might do something special?
Well, I suppose.
You don't have to cheer for anybody. I know you can't.
Yeah, no, I don't do that. Obviously, Simon is looking pretty good.
Pretty fast.
Agence France Presse is here, and they're really excited about. They asked me if I could be sure he won. No, that's on him and Roger.
There's nothing you can do to fix that, to arrange that.
Well, we don't do that.
Zach Veach might have an in on that one too. I was thinking with Gamebridge,
Yeah. Well, all of them, and if you live here, and if you're not for Ed Carpenter, there's something wrong.
Okay.
So that Ed and that team are pretty special, but it's you just want a great race, and if we get through it, we'll have one.
That's what I think too. Mark, I appreciate you taking some time this morning.
Pleasure.
Always
Thanks
a pleasure.
for all your work.
Thank you very much. I hope you get to enjoy the race. I hope we get to enjoy an entire race.
Yeah.
And it will be a
a fitting good night at the end of it.
Exactly, and then you can take a breath.
Exactly. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much.
See ya.
I can take that from you, and then shake your hand. Thanks very much. That was Mark Miles, CEO of Holman & Company, which owns IndyCar. So yeah, he's got quite a race day plan.
So you got Doug Bowles, you had Mark Miles, all the heavy hitters. So you're going to finish with the biggest hitter, me. No,
Maclinesque.
Yes. So
Everyone.
I just wanted to thank everyone for watching us and watching Jim's hard work and reading all his great work at IndyStar.com and USAToday.com this past month. Yeah. Everyone, the rain is holding off for now. There will be racing. We will have cars on the track. So
come on out and enjoy it, or figure out a way to watch this thing, or
legally. And follow, if you can't watch it, follow along on Indy 500 or IndyStar.com or Indy 500 blog, or listen to the radio feed as well, because the radio feed's fantastic radio.
We'll be all over Twitter too. So
all right, I am Maclinesque. He is IndyStar Racing Insider Jim Aiello. This has been IndyStar's Pit Pass Live, brought to you by Honda.